Shift. My name is Val, and I'm joined with
Saul,
Jonah,
and James.
So, it being our 7th podcast now, us clocking in something like 16 plus hours of content, if you can call it that, I thought this would be a fun little game where each one of you gets to ask another person in the group a question. It can be a personal question. It can be an impersonal, abstract
So people in the group get to ask, we're asking each other, you, the audience, is not involved. Please don't write to us personal questions. Actually, no, do it. Fuck it, why not? Yeah. I will try. I honestly, if anyone sends me a message asking me a really personal question, I will answer it.
Honestly?
I won't answer it honestly.
He didn't say that.
Say that. I will answer it.
Way to shoot his defence down.
Right, James, you get a question. Who do you want to ask?
What do your parents do for a living?
I get a question. I'm going to ask Saul. Saul, when you were young, what was your over-the-top childhood dream job? You know, when you were like so naive and innocent, you're like, I'm going to be an astronaut.
Is it bad if I said I really wanted to be a doctor?
Really?
Yeah, which the thing is, isn't obviously that too much to ask for, but knowing me and how inattentive I am, yes, I used to have like little play sets of like all the
desiccated corpses, forensic crime scenes, trauma.
Yeah, I used to just, it's probably why
Navy blue's your favourite
No,
colour.
I was thinking when it came to biology, like dissections really didn't bother me.
No, yeah.
That's why you're still not getting enough sleep and not getting paid enough for what you do, because you're still role-playing a doctor.
So you could have done it.
Yeah.
You are technically doing it.
I'm not going to write on my CV, technically a doctor.
What?
Long hours. Don't get paid.
I'm not going to say what my job is, but yeah.
What a better thing to write a CV than technically a doctor. And they'd be like, what does this mean? And you're like, I feel like you didn't read my CV.
It's like, sorry, I did, at the top of your CV, I didn't see Dr. Saul, and it doesn't state anything about your certificates about you having a doctorate.
No, but listen,
in anything.
I don't sleep, I don't get paid enough, and I'm good at cutting meat. So really, that's just a doctor
that
without
makes me
qualifications.
Sound like that's going to make it sound like I'm a butcher. Like,
yeah, technically.
Shifty Saul here, boys. I'm actually a butcher.
No, well, work long hours.
Nice.
No, they don't.
Turn up,
and
kill
they
a cow.
get better. They get better
kill a
paid.
cow. The cow gets killed for them, and they just chop it
It
up.
depends how much effort they want to put in.
All right, Jonah, yours reared and killed on site butchers.
In all fairness, next time.
No, I don't do the rearing. I just go take someone's cat.
Easier to rustle ribs than a whole cow.
You're just trying to lure Betty away. Just like, come here, girl.
With the cleaver in one hand, like, come on, just enough neck out of the fence, and I could just hack it.
You stun them with a car battery.
You sound like you're siphoning petrol, but it's just like finding meat. They're like luring this cow over like a handful of grass and a car battery.
Like if we talk in CVs, that's go like when the world goes to shit. That's going on my CV for why I should be in some like
Technically a
warlord's
doctor.
fortune. Technically a doctor can rustle cattle with a car battery. You coax them up, and then when they come close, you just get them on the nose with the clips, and then it stuns them, and then you cut their throat. Wow.
So, what's your question?
Jonah,
Hey, so-
when did you realise that your family is just really, really normal?
No, I felt like. Did you grow up thinking that they were abnormal?
Yes, 100%.
All right. What was abnormal about your family, to your mind?
I've done my question time. I've had
it's
my
your
question.
time.
I've answered my question.
Right.
I do not want any of the anecdotes about my family was me growing up with my family and all the weird stuff that
That
happened.
is pretty weird to grow up with your family.
All right, Val. fucking-
All right, Tracy Beaker over there.
Just really
Jesus
hammering at those
Christ.
tear ducts in the audience. Like Val had an orphan childhood. She's basically
Yeah.
a Disney princess.
I was going to say, does your mum listen to these?
My mum does not listen.
But why doesn't she? Well, she
Can't in
Answer
the
the
old
question.
country.
Answer the question, Jonah. Why is your family so normal?
No, this is our normal. There was a point where in my life when I realised my family was better than what a lot of my friends are growing up with. Like, for example, from going through school, I seem to know a lot of people whose parents had divorced. And I was like, and that was alien to me because that had never, like, growing up until like the age of 11, was just, that had never crossed my mind. So my parents had always just seemed happily married. So if they do fight, they do it really quietly.
I think my parents thought I was broken when they divorced. Going back to No, because basically I remember I walked into the living room and my mum and dad were sat there and they said, "Oh, we need to tell you something." They said, "Oh, Dad, your dad's going to be moving out. We're just working out some kinks." That was a bad choice of words. Bad choice of words. And
Your dad sat there in a gimp mask.
As in, like, problems in the relationship. And I was like, and I think my exact reaction
Not
was...
a bondage harness.
No. My exact reaction was, okay. I turned and went back upstairs to my bedroom like nothing happened.
Internalized trauma.
Oh, God.
It's the sound of like ice cracking, under a footstep, and Saul's head is like, I'm going to go play Splinter Cell. Just walks upstairs.
No, at the time, I think I was playing with my gerbils. Now, Jonah, you get to pick someone and ask them a question.
Val, what was it like escaping from Agrabah?
Did you believe the old man disguise Jafar had? Were you surprised he double-crossed you?
Do you miss your tiger?
I do miss my tiger quite a lot. I was actually really disappointed when Jafar took off his disguise and he turned out to be slightly better looking underneath it, because I was kind of hoping there would be a layer that would get worse and worse and worse.
What?
I loved Jafar when I was younger. I was like, Jasmine, come through. Jafar's great.
You all for like bad Jasmine.
Oh, yeah.
Great facial hair. He was skinny, rich.
Magic stick.
Yeah.
He had that snake, man. Woo-wee!
You realise the parrot is like part of the baggage that comes with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind.
God, it's like
Is that Bob Hoskins? Who voices the parrot?
Wilbur Goffrey.
Oh God.
And he comes back for every one of the films. He's the only person who recurs like every time.
Sorry, but
I'll voice the parrot again. We're not making another one. I'll just speak like it until you do.
it was when we were watching which Aladdin film was it? Like
The second
The second one that looks like it was animated on paint.
yeah, but that's the thing. No,
Go away.
It was when we. I don't. Why did we watch it? It was on TV and we were doing something.
Because we just finished, beating Gorilla Cheeks to Tarzan, and then the Disney Channel changed to Aladdin 2, and we were like, I'm spent.
Yeah, and it was the fact that I think it was near the end or something like that. And it was when credits rolled and Gilbert Gottfried's name came up, and we were there like, it was still him.
Yeah, because it didn't even sound like it sounded like someone did an impression.
And it sounded like someone doing a really bad Gilbert Gottfried impression. It just turned out to actually just be him.
Well, it's very much like Johnny Depp in reprising in the role of like Captain Jack. Like he was only good at it in the first
one, and then it looks like he's forgotten how to do it, and is just acting a little bit like someone doing Captain
Well, actually, no, all seriously, it's just Johnny Depp getting more and more drunk.
Yeah, that is it.
Like on the most recent one, they just had to. Yeah, like he was so bad on like Dead Men Tell No Tales that there was just a runner got posted outside of his trailer, and whenever like they heard movement, they would go and tell the director of photography to start setting up cameras. Be like, he'll be up in like half an hour, and then we can work.
That's a pretty quick turnaround then, to be fair. I don't take half an hour to get ready. I take much longer.
Especially if you're waking up from a hangover.
Well, to be fair, like Johnny Depp has probably got to the point where he looks enough like Captain Jack. You just had to put him in the wig and the hat and be like, all right, and just like don't worry about the alcohol wearing off.
To be fair, I saw a picture of him, and he looked like Emperor Palpatine going to Halloween dressed as Jack White. Genuinely, like it was scary.
On a Johnny Depp tangent. Have you guys seen the trailer for London Fields?
I haven't.
Which is, are you familiar with the book?
No.
It's like by Martin Amis. Heard of him?
This Guess Who's not going well.
Martin Amis wrote a book called London Fields, which was quite popular. It's been turned into a film. And the role is being taken by Amber Heard. But Johnny Depp's in the film, which is a bit weird. She plays a kind of like a young seductress, and like all the men she keeps on a string trying to kill her. Like independently of each other.
A method acting for Johnny Depp then, considering what happened with that.
It's not method acting. It's not acting at all. It's just called wish fulfillment.
Well, like Robert Downey Jr.
Did they get like a suspension on his restraining order so that he could be on set, or?
Yes, that's what I always think about. Like, I find it so weird. Like, considing because I was speaking
did
to my
Amber
cousin.
Heard get a say? Is the important thing. I feel like
to be in the film.
Well, no, like obviously, she. No, it's like sort of,
Postman Pat, you're a postman.
You're an actress in this film.
But Amber Heard got kidnapped and put into the film. Obviously, no, she auditioned and got the lead role. But did they tell her they were giving one of like the supporting roles to Johnny Depp?
Yeah,
and did
that
she
would
say
be really
yes?
Weird, yeah.
Right, we're missing the real question here, though. Your question to James.
So my question for you, James, is what film did you love as a child, but then developed a deeper understanding and a deeper appreciation of when you grew up, where you kind of watched it back and felt like you didn't really understand it when you were a child, you didn't like it for the right reasons? Do you have a film that was as constant?
Episode 1.
I think the prequels is a really good shout, because when you watch them as a kid, you're like, yeah. But when as an adult, you're like, mime.
Meme mime, just like pod racing.
But I'm just struggling to think, because let's say, for example, something like let's say Jurassic Park. When I was little, I used to watch that because dinosaurs, and I used to run around trying to be a dinosaur, and that was like my early childhood. I mean, I watched Jurassic Park, made me want to do, which links to Saul's question, my first career choice in life, which was Velociraptor. That's what I wanted to be. I would run around, I'd jump on people, and I'd just scratch them. Like I would like that scene where they like run down the kitchen and like bang into the reflection. I used to just do that
with mirrors.
No, I used to just, but like obviously not into mirrors, but into people. Like people like my family would be sitting down enjoying a lunch, and I'd go like, and I'd like leap on them.
Why is there a situation like fucking Harry Potter there in the corner where his family's enjoying lunch and you're not invited?
Because James is trying
Everyone's there sat there eating and then it's like you're locked.
Oh, what? And they're like, the boy who's locked in the cupboard by his mean parents. And I'm like, no, you let him out, and he goes all raptor.
I was going to say, speaking of raptors, in the dog.
My dad used to walk up and down and be like, he should be destroyed. No, but then obviously watching it when I was older, I got a better appreciation.
When you jumped on your dad, was he there like clever girl?
I took a fully grown adult down, and that guy was Wedge. I was in Kefalonia in Greece. Yeah,
I think you're still talking.
Was it a Greek guy? Was it a stranger?
No, it was a big burly Greek guy who was doing play fights with the kids by the pool. Yeah, and obviously like because there was loads of kids. Just wait, no, he was like a coach of some kind. He wasn't just like pedalist who got in.
Yeah, I was going to say because
if he did, he got a dose. He's not gonna. It's not a happy ending for him.
Because coaches never abuse their charges.
No, but let's just take. Okay, if you want to imagine he's a paedophile, then I'm a hero in this story, so I'm happy to take that. But the point is, I don't think he was. That's not the point. It wasn't some kind of raptor justice. It was just me being a savage kid. Okay, so
raptor justice.
He said it like it's a proper genre. This guy was playing and he was picking up kids and he was throwing them in the pool. That was the game. Yeah, that was the game. Like the kids were like,
was he outside of the pool?
And he wasn't giving them a squeeze on the way in, or anything?
No, he was hurling them because this guy was like like he was Wedge kind of thing. Like he was like
he could overpower all of you.
Oh, he could
like a slice of
no, he
cheese
was slinging kids
pointing down.
No, he was he was slinging kids like they were like tennis balls. He'd pick them up, in they would go like one arm, no problem, right?
Any of them like hit the other side.
Now I'd been prowling around the edge of this fight looking for my moment, right? And he was picking up a kid and he was doing this, and then I went for it and I like recreated the final scene of the film where the raptor I went in with the screech and everything, and I used to get
on the T-Rex.
Yeah, and I used to like rake my big toes down people because obviously raptors used to do that with the claws. So I come in, claws out, toes out, and I pounce on him, yeah, and I'm raking his back, right? And I mean, like, I don't know, bit him on the neck, like properly hard, and he screams, falls backwards into the pool, goes in, all the kids cheer because we won. Like we got him in the pool, that was the game. Obviously, he was doing this because he was trying to be like macho, I guess, or something, like trying to show off. Because he was like, look how many kids I can hurl. I don't know.
It doesn't really work in a school.
I tasted blood, I ripped this guy's strength.
Jesus, he's fine.
I was like 6, may I add. No, I think I was 5 even. I mean, I can't do the noise as well anymore because I've obviously stopped trying to be a velociraptor. But I went, it was like pitch perfect. That was my moment. That was the time when, for once in my life, I was.
Wait, did you jump on his back?
Yeah, on his back.
Yeah, okay, so maybe for a brief moment, he did actually think he was being attacked by a velociraptor.
They could have. Like, he could have been like, what have they done in this Greek hotel? Well, they've been breeding down there, but just feral kid. But anyway.
James, it sounds like, you get those wolf children who don't have any human contact.
I do, were raised by velociraptors.
Yeah, James was raised by dinosaurs.
So I took him into the pool, and then I probably swam off, and I was the cool kid, because obviously I took down the big adult. He probably was really hurt, and that probably still stays with him. Because he...
He's got a bite mark in his shoulder.
Like, he's probably sitting there thinking to himself, like, I remember when I was on holiday, and I thought I was having fun with these kids, and this nightmare of claw and tooth attack. That's how much I used to love Jurassic Park as a child. As an adult,
that's how we got here.
I can appreciate. As an adult, I can appreciate that it's just a really well-made film about the fallacy of man and the humans versus nature and the ability not to control that. But when I was young, I just wanted to be a velociraptor, and I used to watch that on repeat. And I used to make the noises. I used to do like the call for help noise they make. So as an adult, I stopped appreciating the film from a sense of longing. Like I wanted to be one. And I started being like, this is actually just a well-made film. So fair play to Steven Spielberg. I really lay that guy's injuries at your door. Because if you hadn't made such a compelling film for my little brain, I wouldn't have wanted to be a velociraptor.
Of course, Steve being our #1 fan who listens to all.
Yeah. I want an apology, Steve.
So I guess
sorry for messing you up.
So I guess at the end of this little impromptu Q&A session, we've learnt that Saul always wanted to be a doctor. Jonah has a very normal family. I'm just a rip-off of Jasmine feminine and attracted to Jafar, and James maybe had learning difficulties with music.
No, raptors are clever.
Well, actually, I have a question to the group, which I thought of in the shower, so it is a shower thought. Is there anything in your life which, if you looked at it, this is a really weird habit, which is utterly, like, idiosyncratic. Like, only I do this. So I thought of this because I always avert my eyes when I'm closing the cap on my head and shoulders like a soldier firing a musket. Because I think I went through a string of instances when I was about 14, whenever I closed the head and shoulders cap, it would flick shampoo into my eyes. So now, out of habit, I just don't look at like shampoo bottles when I'm closing them in the shower. And I just wondered if anyone else had anything like that. Does anyone else do this, or is it just me who had this almost superstition that Head and Shoulders, if I look at it, will always get in my eyes?
I feel like I should be good at like picking up on the weird things that only you guys do.
Yeah, like for example, I had no idea I stuck my tongue out when I eat.
I stop breathing when I'm cooking.
Yes.
Yeah, like when I'm preparing food, like I have such a problem with like mold and rot. Even when it's fresh food, I'll be like,
and I find it so annoying because I turn to him and I go, breathe, it's fine. You can do that. Because sometimes you'll do it making tea. It's boiling water. It can't be off.
So, anything you want to share?
Something that was pointed out to me by my beloved was the fact that if I want to say no, or if I'm doing something and then, like, for example, like if I went to do something like to go do the washing up, and the other person was like, no, let me do it, I will just go and blow them a raspberry, and I never realised that I really do it.
you do that.
Yeah, I know, but Kasha really pointed it out, and then I've started picking up on how many times I do it, and it is a lot. Especially in foreign countries, if I don't speak the language, I'm blowing raspberries at you constantly, because I do, like, in my head, that is the quickest way of explaining no, of me just go...
I just like the idea of something like, for you, sir, would you like to buy this vase? And you're like, keep going. There's like another haggler.
Fucking asshole.
Yeah, who's like postcard from like just going down the street just everyone.
Like one long raspberry down the road.
You're at the airport, someone comes up to you like, can you not smoke here? And you're like,
Can I check your baggage?
Yeah. It's like Tim's getting tased on the floor, just blood coming out of his tongue where he's bitten it with the tase started.
But why do I blow raspberries so much?
You're like a chimp.
Throwing feces is next, James.
It just sounds like the kind of thing they'd be like, this is Blue the chimp. When he doesn't like something, he goes...
Yeah, so I remember I pointed out to you that when you present food to yourself in your hand, Jonah, your tongue comes out of your mouth
Like
to
a
greet it.
Yeah. You're like a snake, like tasting it with your tongue. Like,
Seems my theory on this is like, if I'm eating something like rice, I want to secure it before it falls off the fork.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
But like, I think it's just gone onto like sandwiches and stuff.
But Jonah, I've watched you stick your tongue out and knock the rice off. Like,
but it's just, I find those little things so endearing.
when I'm outside smoking and Val's with me, like, she'll position herself as close to the exit as possible, or like the door, or whatever kind of away. And it's not just when I'm smoking, say, it's like when I'm talking at her sometimes, and I can tell she's just like
Backing
up, like I'm some kind of like demented serial killer who's like monologuing and she's like trying to get away. If you position yourself in between her and the escape, she's clearly clocked it. It's not like subconscious, and she starts like looking over you and like kind of checking your kind of flanks to see if she can like nip past you, but doesn't leave. It's just like she's on constant alert, like in case you're just going to swing, and she's like prepared and ducks underneath it and goes,
and then locks you outside.
yeah.
And with all that lovely sharing out of the way, let's move on to our segments that I worked so hard to research, and I'll do a very poor job of delivering. So we're starting off with a story from 1374, where an outbreak of St. John's dance caused people in the streets of Aachen, Germany, well, actually that's wrong, it was the Holy Roman Empire, to hallucinate, begin twitching and jumping uncontrollably until they collapse. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this phenomenon. It's called dancing mania. It's also called St. John's dance. Very often these people who would get into a fit, so that you would have groups of people who would just go crazy and just keep dancing and dancing and dancing until they collapse. It's like Pied the Piper, what was it called?
It sounds like, I'm not doubting its authenticity or its
It genuinely happened.
It sounds like something the Joker would do in like the 1992 Batman series.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, I've released a gas that makes everyone dance.
It primarily occurred in mainland Europe between 14th and 17th centuries, and it was, for some reason, around the turn of the 17th century, any recorded occurrences of this just stopped. And it used to be such a big problem that towns would actually pay musicians to keep playing music to help these people kind of get out of their state. Because the belief was...
Yeah, because if you want someone to stop dancing, you play music.
Yeah.
No, I think it's more a case of, well, look, they're all just fitting down there. They might as well make a boogie out
What
of it.
they should do, right? What they should do is play some music, then slow jam, lights up. Always stops people.
Works every time.
Yeah, get people out.
I like the fact that there was this minstrel looking out over this huge congregation of fitting, gyrating masses and was like, what they need is a leader.
Obviously, this wasn't, as you can imagine, it wasn't a very effective treatment option. So the earliest known outbreak of dancing mania occurred in the 7th century, but the reason when I initially introduced it, I said 14th to 17th, is because of this incident in 1374. So it started in Aachen and then went on to Cologne, Flanders, Franconia, Hainaut, Metz, Strasbourg, Tongeren, Utrecht, Luxembourg, France, Holland, loads of places in
All
Europe.
of Europe was getting it.
Yeah, they were all
How
getting
was England, though? The most important question.
surprisingly.
We remained very resolute.
Isolated on our island.
Begone with your dancing sickness.
Yeah,
we
it's
shall
like-
stand, form a line and show them how superior we are.
it's imagine-
We can control our
I
limbs.
can imagine.
It did make it to the British Isles, but it could only manifest as like a twitching of the upper lip.
Yeah, just... Oh dear. I believe me, I'm infected. Can you see? My moustache is quivering. One single tear. God forgive me.
The funny thing about the dancing mania that there are a lot of very specific characteristics of what it means to be affected by it. Obviously, the main prerequisite being that you're dancing or doing something with your body that would suggest it from a distance.
Jazz hands.
Did someone just spike the water with like ecstasy? No. Yeah,
The Morris
ecstasy will work.
dancers' ritual finally paid off. They unleashed the curse on all mankind.
They are the servants of Satan.
In Pied the Piper, I think there was like hundreds of people that were dancing. In reality, it would be like tens of thousands of people who would just start going at it.
The Pied Piper, as a fable, is he lures all the children out to their deaths. That's what the fable is. He drives all the rats out of town with the music, and then
Doesn't get paid.
Doesn't get paid, so he takes all the children with him and makes them like jump off a cliff or something.
But in loads of artistic interpretations of this social phenomenon, a lot of the time the crowd would be primarily made up of women, but the actual fact is that a lot of the time it would be men who would be dancing. So there was the stereotype.
Of course, wherever the booty goes, you got to shake too. That's what men were doing. They're like, I see an opportunity here to bump and grind. I'm getting in on this. I may not be sick,
But it's just mainly men, though.
yeah, because that's what every nightclub is.
It's mainly men bumping and grinding on each other.
On each other as they jostle for that one girl who's far too drunk and is getting circled by the pack.
I suppose
Or the rugby clubs there, and they're just happy to dance with each
Yeah, and elbows out everywhere.
Sound like they're Cossacking.
They might as well be.
Oi, oi,
You always get someone. You always get some big rugby lad who you can't stop because he's just a moving boulder. That's just drunk.
Stop. Well,
Yeah, and he's coming up Cossack and elbowing, and you see some poor 18-year-old girl on her first night out, like, just gone, doesn't even notice, and they start bouncing into one another, and it becomes danger for everyone.
But I suppose it's not entirely surprising that a lot of these dancing frenzies were always portrayed as being comprising primarily of women, because throughout the ages there's always been this
Stigma.
There's been this stigma about women being more neurotic than men.
Hysterical.
There's also, if you think about the whole witch thing as well, women being kind of like, you're the witch, you're sleeping with the devil. Which I feel like, if you're going to sleep with the devil, you'd hope he'd give you cooler powers than just being old and ugly.
I think how many offers he gets, though. He's good at talking people down. He's a good haggler. You're like, I want the power of flight. He's like, all right, I'm going to the girl next door. You're like, no, let's talk. You still can give me something. He's like, give you the ability to make frogs croak at will.
he can do things you never dreamed of. She's got a longer tongue than most.
Yeah.
Gets places.
And only
wraps
costs
around.
it costs you his soul. And a lot of people are taking that deal. So I'm just saying,
Dude, you're thinking small, right? Foot fetish, fuck that. Hoof fetish.
yeah, there's only one guy who's going to scratch that itch for you. if you're unfortunate enough to have that.
Satan or a sheep.
It's more hygienic than diddling your neighbour's goat, which would probably get you done for witchcraft.
Wow, I don't know, Jonah. Maybe when you've car batteried the cow, you can, rent them out for a bit before you slip through it.
And I like how the choices is that or Satan. Beelzebub himself.
What's really interesting is that there is still a debate about whether these dancing, events were spontaneous or organised, but there is no...
People are saying it could have been like a medieval flash mob.
Yeah, sort of thing. The thing is that the research...
Where do they do it? They didn't have train stations.
North Facebook to organise them. And they think, this is going to be one that goes viral.
Not shitty, annoying fucking proposals.
Town cries, it's what they're for.
Yeah. Hee, rave! He's doing it with the bell. A dunk, dunk, dunk. Stop it, Jeffrey, getting them all riled up again.
But just the men.
Yes, there's disagreement about whether or not they were spontaneous or organised, but there is no disagreement over whether or not what kind of state of mind they were in. All research agrees that they seemed to be in a state of unconsciousness and unable to control themselves. So I don't know how you can plan something just completely out of it. I guess actually, again, raves, drugs.
I was going to say, it's like a certain amount of like alcohol and a large enough crowd, people just synchronize.
And to be honest, this parallel,
that's basically warfare.
This parallel
about the era, get them all drunk and mob them towards something.
So the parallel between raves and these dancing events is not actually that far-fetched. Robert Bartholomew, a key researcher in this field, basically described that these people would generally come in from outside of town and they would be wearing strange, colourful attire and holding wooden sticks. Some of them decorated their hair with garlands. However, not all outbreakers involved foreigners and not all were particularly calm. Apparently, some paraded around naked, made obscene gestures. Some had sexual intercourse. Disgusting. Others acted like animals and jumped and hopped and leaped about. It's just mad lads.
It's like instead of the swinging 60s, it's the swinging 16th century.
But it's such a like diverse list of symptoms where it's like if you get this thing, you don't know if
It sounds drugs. It's got to be drugs.
It's like you don't know if you're going to be the one who's hopping, which is obviously animalistic back then. Like he got off the whole ground in one, to fornicating in the street.
It's drugs. It's got to be drugs.
So they would hardly ever stop, and some danced until they broke their ribs and subsequently died. Some people wouldn't eat while they're doing it and die. They dancers screamed, laughed, cried. Some of them sang. He notes that observers of dancing mania were also sometimes treated violently if they refused to join in. It was a big problem for towns.
Oh, it's like a bloody Stephen King apocalypse, zombie apocalypse.
A really weird thing is that
Itself.
Yeah, him just spinning the wheel and be like, I dislike ravers. Phones make you into a weird raver zombie.
A really weird thing is that participants demonstrated really weird reactions to the colour red. That's one of the characteristics of this illness, dancing mania. Basically, a researcher from Germany noted that they couldn't perceive the colour red at all, and Bartholomew reports that it was said that the dancers couldn't stand the colour red, often becoming violent when seeing it. This is quite interesting because very often dancing mania gets talked about in reference to tarantism, which is a similar phenomenon that was occurring in Italy around the same time, where victims were said to be poisoned by a tarantula or a scorpion and told that the only way to kind of get rid of this poison is to dance a particular dance or to a particular song and things like that. So it usually occurred in the summer months, and as with dancing mania, people would suddenly begin dancing, sometimes affected by a perceived bite or sting, and then they were joined by others who believed that the venom from their old bites was reactivated by the heat of the music, and they would perform the tarantella accompanied by music, which would usually cure the victim, or at least temporarily. And as with dancing mania, they also had a colour issue. So participants apparently didn't like the colour black, but women were reported to be the most affected by it. Unlike dancing mania, tarantism was confined to Italy and southern Europe, and it was common until the 17th century, but ended suddenly with only a few small outbreaks in Italy until as late as 1959.
I don't know what to...
I feel like we've stepped into conspiracy town.
In terms of explanations, so we've mentioned drugs. So one of the most prominent theories is that the victims suffered from ergo poisoning, which refers to a group of fungi, which was supposed to have been growing on rye. So countries where rye was used frequently in foods, you would kind of think maybe that's what it was. Ergotism can cause hallucinations and convulsions, which is kind of similar to what
was going on.
What is described with dancing mania, but it can't account for the other strange behaviour most commonly identified with dancing mania. So other theories then suggest that the symptoms were similar to encephalitis, epilepsy and typhus, but as with ergotism, these conditions cannot account for all symptoms because obviously some people were singing, some people weren't twitching, people displayed very different types of behaviour. Another popular theory is that these outbreaks were all staged and the appearance of strange behaviour was due to its unfamiliarity, because obviously you see the descriptions of these people being like from the outside, so they're very strange. So it might be a thing that foreigners came into, say, a town, and the people in that town found them so strange and odd that they assumed that there was something wrong with them. Do you see what I'm saying?
Perfectly normal to, break your ribs and fornicate in the middle of the street.
Yeah. Oh, I've always wanted to break my ribs, and now these weirdos are here. I can get away with it. Oh, come for me, death.
There's reference to religious cults, obviously. So religious cults may have been acting out well-organised dances in accordance with like ancient Greek or Roman rituals.
Again, that doesn't... The thing is, a lot of these theories are not discussing the fact that people of the town would just join in and injure themselves and hurt themselves.
Yeah, that's true.
And
Unless they joined in because...
and say something like the theory of encephalitis, swelling of the brain.
Yeah.
It's like, then we'd be talking about the disease that kills you and also made you dance first before the brain swelling killed you.
I guess the most comprehensive theory in terms of why did this happen is the fact that a lot of the time these dancing events would occur in times of high stress. It is said that dancing mania or taranticism may have simply been the result of stress and tension caused by natural disasters around the time, such as plagues and floods. And this was the people's reaction to try and make themselves feel any kind of joy. You know, it's like fake it till you make it.
Again, plagues and floods and hard times.
No, of course, I agree.
Why this particular time rather than all of human history prior to then? I mean, there's nothing that really...
Or post then.
Yeah.
And harking back to what I said at the beginning, the different treatments that they had were very limited. They were very kind of hit and miss. And a lot of the time, they just exacerbated the problem further. Like, for example, when I was talking about the musician, the common belief at the time was that people needed to get this out of their system. They were just waiting for them to finish. So they would hire musicians to try and make it go by faster. They'd play like quicker music or whatever. But obviously what that resulted in is that people thought, oh, everyone's dancing, why don't I join in? Thereby turning hundreds into thousands of people. Another thing was that they thought that they were possessed by the devil. There was loads of exorcisms that were happening. Because
I feel like that's such a modern appraisal of the devil. Like, you know how we have this kind of pop culture thing, like, he's the roguish bad boy who just wants people to have fun or free will or whatever kind of crap.
No, but it was a true epidemic. Like,
yeah, I'm not saying it's not.
Really worried,
but I feel like the medieval mind doesn't think, you know, the idea that the medieval mind usually portrays the devil as like the worst thing ever and totally irredeemably evil. The idea that he'd be like, I'm going to possess people and make them dance and have a crazy old time. Because his MO back then to them was like doing spells, killing children, twisting heads around and stuff. But then to be like, how about we do a boogie? How about we get the funking, guys?
I suppose.
Yeah, so like it's like comparing like The Exorcist to Danse Macabre by Sasson, like having the whole he's just playing music and dancing around with the dead.
Yeah.
Compared to like climbing up walls and vomiting and twisting your head around. It's like just such a massive.
When you think about it, considering these events occurred at times of high stress, in times of poverty, people stopping what they were doing, working in the fields, just to dance and be useless and hurt themselves, was probably seen as the devil playing tricks on the people of that town because they're removing key breadwinners, fighters, and providers out of the what's really interesting to me is that in these times of high stress, this reaction was predominantly evident in the male population. Which is really kind of interesting considering that women are the ones that are often taught dancing as a social thing, you know?
Well, you have to remember as well that in this era, especially the types of people you're talking about, men and women, they don't tend to have much different going on in their lives.
Course,
they both just toiled in a field all day. It's more noble ladies who were taught to dance and sing and leisurely pursuits, whereas the peasant, you know, being the wife of a peasant, it was like, you come push plough with me.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I have no ox. You are oxwife. You are oxwife. You pull the plough.
Yeah. It's called by many different names, like dancing plague, choreomania. There's two very dominant names that come up in loads of literature, which is St. John's dance and St. Vitus dance. These refer to the name of a saint. And the reason it's called that is because oftentimes these people who are dancing would be found at altars to these saints because they believed, and because loads of these dancing people were found at these altars, they assumed that it was because the saint was punishing them for one reason or another. So they it was a kind of a double thing where they believed that they were punishing them, but they were also able to cure them of this ailment. So loads of people would come and pray at these altars to try and get rid of this
funk
epidemic. Yeah. And that was the story.
Oh, God of funk, take your boogie out of me.
So that was 1374, the outbreak of St. John's dance, causing people to collapse, twitch, and die in Aachen at the Holy Roman Empire. Then in 1441, the Eton College was founded by Henry VI, which is crazy to think because it's very much still around.
Still very old-fashioned. So.
People always forget how old universities are.
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah,
Like
we've needed knowge for a very long time, so I suppose it's not too
I think it's
surprising.
back in the day, they wouldn't teach anything bar theology or philosophy.
Yeah.
not necessarily. The University of Bologna used to teach anatomy. They used to bring in cadavers and operate. If you actually go to the university, it's absolutely.
Yeah, but what time did they do this? In what era? Because obviously, for a lot of Bologna's
You couldn't.
you couldn't interact with the bodies. That was completely taboo.
Which is what happened from
How old was the
Muslim scholars, because they didn't.
Oh
have
yeah, no, most of what the medieval mind knew about anatomy was because scholars from Baghdad had actually cut up bodies.
Yeah.
Strange when you think, because traditionally in Islam, the burial happens the day after death, which is more to do with being in a desert culture because the bodies go off super quick. But at the same time, it's like no, we're all right with they were more okay with dissection than monks.
But yeah, as I said, Baghdad in the era was the bastion of the sciences and Enlightenment.
And then what was it like? One of Genghis's sons was like, "I will put a stop to that."
Yeah.
But 1762.
Yeah, so that's kind of when you begin to get early medicine.
That's part it's like Enlightenment.
Enlightenment,
People
Whereas before that, in the medieval world, it was like,
I think Bologna is the oldest university.
I wouldn't know off the top of my head.
I know Oxford's the oldest in this country, in the 14
Yeah,
something.
it's like Aztecs.
Another man who's very fond of religion and all the things that come with
Is
it.
it the Pope?
It's Henry VIII, in fact, who...
He had his own take on it.
Exactly.
So fond of religion, he started his own.
Exactly. So he...
He hung, drew and quartered the abbot in the town where I'm from.
Really?
When he stripped out everything from Reading Abbey, he hung, drew and quartered the abbot there.
Oh, wow.
They've refurbished it recently. Well, not entirely. They've made it it's still ruined because no one's putting money up to redo an abbey. But they still haven't found the body of Henry II, who's supposed to be buried there.
Really?
Henry I. Which one died from a surfeit of lampreys? Was it Henry II?
I don't know.
He was the super religious one. Back to Henry VIII. Though.
Yeah.
He was crowned on this day with Catherine of Aragon, who was not to stay his wife for long.
But she did stay his wife long enough to give him his brother's syphilis.
Yes.
Because she was married to his brother, who was actually called Arthur. So he could have had a King Arthur, but he died, possibly of syphilis.
And Henry was also, people forget about Henry, that he was hunk at the start.
Oh yeah, he was a good-looking guy.
He was a.
She was probably excited that his brother died.
Yeah, that really scratches the itch that I keep having.
That and also the fact that obviously that they had portraits done to display to potential wives and things like that. They would, with Henry VIII, they used to send the older wives, as in the later on, send him his younger portraits to basically get them all I'm ready to marry this King of England, and then obviously you turn up and he's just this fat old man come here, baby.
Yeah, no, he was also really good King of England, but as I've always said,
By accident,
lucky man. His really impulsive decisions that he made happened to have really
dick swinging contests with France
that happened to just have knock-on effects that were really beneficial, but were not at all his father was one of the most frugal kings. He made so much money for the kingdom. Henry VII was really leave the coffers much more filled than you had them to start off with. And Henry came up DMX was
War with France.
Yeah. Let's pie up in here, and was just I'd say war with France, lose war with France, lose war with France.
The whole portrait thing back came around to bite him, because obviously he was handing out his old profile pics to his later wives. But obviously his fourth wife, Anna Cleves, was an example of false hype, because they called her the
Flanders man.
Well, today's also happens to be on the same day was the day that he sent her away from court. The most memorable part of his love life, the story of the catfishing back in the old 60s.
Well, Anne of Cleves was one of the princesses of the Holy Roman Empire. So
turn her down.
Just to put in perspective, the most powerful group in Europe to get a marriage alliance from when then. The point is that to get an alliance with the Holy Roman Empire, big deal. And so it just puts in perspective how much her attractiveness mattered to Henry, that he would spurn said European superpower. He married her, but he would not even go near her. He would not, the marriage was annulled. It's the only one where they're just you've not consummated the marriage, because he just wouldn't.
Didn't he pretend to be a servant and then
snuck into
her room? And didn't he ask her where her lady was?
Yeah.
Because she was so ugly that he couldn't believe that she's the same person.
Yeah, he was like, where's my wife?
Yeah. It's the one in the picture.
And
I imagine that he kind of snuck in with the portrait and just been like, I'm looking for her, pointed to say portrait. But it's huge.
I can't remember the name of the painter who painted it, but this is a character that I feel like you could make.
Didn't he flee?
You could, yeah. I feel like you could
They
make.
paid him and he went, okay. And then just left to another country.
Yeah, you could. I feel like this painter should have at least a mini series about him, because the King of England turns to him and he's like, I heard that this Anna Cleves is on the market and I'm looking for a wife too, so off you go. This painter then arrives at...
When you say it like that, it makes it sound like Anna Cleves was looking for a wife.
No.
So looking for a wife too. Like Anna Cleves is like, I would like...
a wife, please. And they're like, whip the devil out of her. She keeps saying no. So off the painter kind of goes to the Holy Roman Empire court and he paints the famous picture, which was very heavily doctored. But a lot of people forget that he was surrounded by very powerful people who were like, paint my daughter. And kind of he was like, should I paint the big warty nose? And they're like, no, because we'll kill you. And he's like, okay, but if I don't give an accurate portrait, Henry's going to kill me. And they're like, well, is Henry here now? No?
Yeah,
paint away.
Well, that's the thing, because he delivered the portrait back to Henry.
and then he took the money and ran.
Yeah, exactly. He took the money and then just fled the country and just went, I don't want to set foot anywhere the Roman Empire or Henry could get hold of him.
But can I just point out,
I'm not two really powerful nations after me.
Yeah, not trying to insult Anne of Cleves too much, but think about how
probably fled to France.
Like monumentally,
young, wasn't she, as well?
Yeah, to be monumentally ugly to the point that the portrait man, after kind of leaning around his portrait, looking at you, goes, "I will die for how different this portrait is from yourself right now. Like the king will kill me for this kind of." So to have that forward plan in his head to be like, I know how much of a shock you're in for. Here's my portrait that I'm fleeing the country. I feel there's not many people who can claim
that.
It
must have been so devastating for her.
She got castle out of it. I'm just saying.
James, castle, no castle, she was an heiress to the Holy Roman Empire. It's a fucking castle. The thing is that she was probably a young girl, raised incredibly sheltered, taught all these stories and fairy tales about how one day she's going to get married. She gets this opportunity to marry the
prince
king.
Will kiss her and she'll become a princess.
The king of England, and it's the day before her wedding, she gets insulted by the man she's supposed to marry and sent away and shamed across. It must have been fucking horrible for her.
And it's all
for the crime of being less attractive than he'd hoped.
Markedly, yes.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Markedly is not trying to say that if she was only a little bit ugly, I'd feel sorry for her, but she was real ugly, so no,
she deserves no compassion.
No compassion. No, I do completely agree that it's terrible, but it is one of those.
But I mean, history's marred with stories of people suffering, I suppose. So 300 years from Henry's coronation, we've got the invention of the QWERTY keyboard.
So for the layman, what is a QWERTY keyboard?
So QWERTY keyboard.
Your keyboard right now, listener. Look down. You found it. Unless you aren't using a QWERTY keyboard, in which case,
if you're on your tablet or phone, open it, and there's also a QWERTY keyboard.
It is actually.
So the QWERTY keyboard refers to the layout of letters used on keyboards on computer devices as well as typewriters and phones. So the person who invented that layout is
John QWERTY.
No, his name was Christopher.
My name goes first.
It would also say, that'd be very situational because most surnames contain multiple of the same letter. But
he goes, wait, check this shout. And he just rolls his finger along the quay and goes, my surname.
I'd love it if
the original draft had his full name, so it was John QWERTY on the top line.
So you just go, sign. You really are fucking the rest of us over there, John.
It's not like you're Smith. There are loads of Smiths.
your family shouldn't have been Smith then. That
should have been proud QWERTYs like me.
In fact, the person who invented the QWERTY keyboard had a very boring name that kind of sounds more like he sold insoles. His name's Christopher Latham Scholes, and he was granted a patent on June 23rd, 1868 for the first typewriter. So there are other people who claim to have been the ones to invent the typewriter.
I just love the idea of someone was like, I have invented the typewriter, and he went, yes, but this, and just moved the letters around and went, mine now.
I moved the letters first, actually, from the back of the hall. He's just copying me. I'm the real John QWERTY.
So, as I said, it was hardly an original idea, but he was the one that's widely believed to be the person who produced the first commercially successful model. There was a gentleman called Henry Mill who had been given a patent on behalf of Queen Anne of Great Britain in 1714 for a writing machine. And nobody knows what the apparatus looked like or how it worked, but there have been patents registered by others for machines that could pass as a typewriter, but credit for the first modern version goes to Scholes.
I imagine it's like it's a robotic hand with a pen.
I'm just typing my name here, guys. Twist it.
Why is it getting faster?
Oh god, imagine doing like writing like a monograph.
But how much weirder the world would be if that's how we typed. So you'd have all these, like the scene of Saving Private Ryan.
Faster and faster.
You know, that scene of Saving Private Ryan where they're typing up like the like commiserations on your son's death letters. Have this room full of like 1940s women all playing Bop It, writing these like sad letters going out. Like, I'm sorry, Miss Ryan, but your son died.
But with the sound effects like...
But at the speed at which like Bruce Almighty answers prayers by email.
Yeah.
I've realised as I'm telling the story that if you're somebody who was born before a certain time, you might not even know what a typewriter looks like and the problems that Scholes was dealing with when he came up with the
fucking edgelord who's like so hipster, like mechanical typewriter. Stephen King
in his Star Wars.
If you can imagine, you've got a laptop in front of you. Imagine that every single key has a metal arm that comes off of it, kind of like a pen in its own right, and that at the end of that little arm there is a little print of a letter, and it's covered in ink.
Think of it like a grand piano where the hammers are replaced with letters.
Yeah.
The letters with ink on it, you have a...
It's literally just keys you hit, and it's the same mechanism. A hammer hits the paper, which prints the letter.
Well, yeah, there's the
so if you mess up...
like tape.
Yeah.
I actually know because my dad has my aunt's old typewriter. Not that it works. I just remember it being around the house. My brother and I would just kind of slap at it when we were younger.
So if you can imagine...
Bum.
If you...
No, not even that. It was like... It was like... To be fair, it's a really satisfying... Because it's all mechanical.
But the issue is that if you imagine any email or text message that you've written, you've very often made a typo, had to go back, had to rewrite. But you can't do that. You either have to block it all out or you have to start all over again. You have to have a really good idea of what you want to write. A typist was a very important profession, and being able to take dictation was very key.
And also because it swiftly as well.
Yeah, well, it used to, like, because they were mechanical, so the keys were quite, even like with, you got electric ones later on, but even then, like, a professional rate of type was 100 words a minute. And I reckon, like, at least two of us at this table could probably do more than... I don't think I could, because I've, especially on my phone, I have such fat thumbs. I try to hit backspace, I type L all the time, so I'm like, L, no, back, no.
I'm not going to lie, for some reason, after the update my phone did, for some reason my predicted text doesn't work now. So I sometimes type really quickly and I just look up at the Scrabble board I have created and I'm there like, none of these are words. So I have to systematically click each typo I've made and then choose the word that I wanted it to be. And I don't know why my phone's updated to do this. It's bugging me so much.
I had a similar thing with an Apple update because obviously I write a lot on my phone.
Just what I was thinking, you reckon you could do more than 100 words a minute?
No.
You don't?
No. I don't reckon I could. Not without mistakes, for sure. I think I registered my word count without mistakes is 55. So, like, nearly half of that.
Fair enough.
But the thing is, the Apple update came and they decided it'd be a really cool idea to just, like, suggest emojis in their thing. So, of course, I'd be writing, like, serious stuff. And I'd be there like, this obviously...
I'm sorry for the death of your son.
Yeah, and I'd be there like, I'm sorry. Like, the emoji would come up. Yeah, like, the death of your son.
Squirt gun.
Yeah.
And he died by a squirt gun.
It was like, I was just there like, I hated it because I was like, it just... And the thing is, the fact that they kept just popping up like, oh, you sure you don't want to use just the emoji for broccoli? And I was like, not that I wrote broccoli. Commonly occurring thing in my work.
Do they assume that, like, that the emojis are used in replacements for words instead of in enhancing the actual sentences themselves?
No, as in, you would type the word broccoli.
No, I understand that. I understand what Apple's doing.
It's what MSN did.
Yeah. I understand that, but I'm just saying, like, do they honestly think that when you write a sentence, we are replacing the words that we want with the picture of the emoji? Like most of the time when I do use an emoji, it's like, oh, so this happened, ha ha ha, smiley face. Done.
Yeah, that's the use of it,
That's
yeah.
the limit.
Yeah, but you see, I feel like it's what they're called.
No,
they're not
today I'm
millennials, they're the
feeling-
ones after us. I don't know what they're called.
Generation Z.
Okay, well, I'm just going to call them frog spawn for sake of reference.
I mean, there's probably... oh, no, it's not. Yes!
Generation Z, is it? I think it's
Yeah,
Generation
it's
Z.
X, Y, Millennial Z.
Yeah.
What do they do after them?
Don't know. Fuck it. Something else.
We go
start
into that.
again?
We go like LXL, and they're called like Generation AA.
Triple A. Yeah.
Yeah. But so I feel like a lot of communications, like I've seen some of my
Generation
cousins
fucked up as shit
texting, will
creek.
genuinely just talk in emojis a lot of the time. You know, and stuff like it's whereas obviously for us it's the kind of stuff like the only time you're ever talking emojis is when you're like trying to do something stupid, like you have like someone sends you a picture of a smiley face, then you send a picture of a not so smiley face next to a cop looking at them all aggressive, and then begins a little pictograph story.
You know what? I'm happy the fad that was around when we were teenagers passed, where you would text only in acronyms.
Oh, neat to be.
Acronyms.
Yeah.
Yeah, like two.
you know where that came from,
As
mate?
in the two, or like.
But you have
it's
to remember
because
that
we used to not be able to send such long text messages.
and it also used to be you'd be paying by the letter.
Yeah.
I remember that. You know, you were paying like so many, like a pence per letter, say.
It sounded like the good old days of actually, sending letters, and you did actually have to pay by the letter of your letters.
Yeah.
Well, like telegrams. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I think you'd get, like,
that, and also don't forget that like
couple of characters.
Yeah, one it was the time that you were paying by the letter, and two it was the fact that you had to hit a key, like you had to hit like 4 times to get S. So like it was taking, if you were typing out anything in full, it was a ball
I used to
ache.
be able to type so quick on my
That's why
Nokia.
do you remember like Blackberries, like changing everything when they were like,
A QWERTY keyboard.
you can have a QWERTY keyboard on a phone, and you'd be like, no one has mosquito proboscises to press these. You're there like, I'd like to write a word now.
I think
It's,
also.
the trick is to grow your thumbnails and you type with your thumbnails.
Like like a coke addict.
Yeah, like Carrie Fisher.
Yeah.
But also, I think the phone's screens were smaller. You couldn't read a long message.
Yeah, totally.
You couldn't write
Playing
someone an
Snake, that
essay
was a
about
small screen.
why you're breaking up with them. You just have to be like TTYL.
What
Did you ever do that, Val? You ever break up with someone with leet speak via text on a
You'll
Nokia?
break up with them with a talk to you later.
Did you actually?
TTYL.
Talk to you later. Play in the game.
So as
Saul.
soon as you said TTYL, my brain went, "So, do you understand what this means?" And I just went into my own little world and didn't
You were like,
hear.
titty, young lad.
No, because I thought you said. that they broke up using that, and I was like, how do you break up? What could TTYL stand for? Which means that we're breaking up. I was like, this.
Thanks, that's your lot.
I knew it.
It's so good.
Going back to the keyboard, so you have all these buttons that are connected to arms, and obviously when you're typing, especially quickly, these metal arms would sometimes tangle with one another, meaning that you'd get mistakes on paper. So the reason why we think of Scholz as the person who kind of invented the typewriter as we know it, and especially the keyboard, is because he solved this problem. He sat down with his partner, Amos Densmore, and they worked out which letters were the most used, and then they put them as far apart as possible on the new keyboard, reducing the chance of them clashing arms because they would come from opposite directions, and thus the QWERTY keyboard was born. But the story doesn't end there, because he invented it and described it as a blessing to mankind. Even so, he sought expert advice, and in early 1873 approached engineers at Remington Company, which apart from firearms made sewing machines and farm tools, so they knew how to use like metals for like intricate little bits. So
It's diversification for you.
they were like Bic essentially, razors and pens. So he came to Remington, who were making firearms, sewing machines and farm tools, and said to them, look, invented the typewriter, didn't I? Made a completely new keyboard. Like, amazing. And they were really impressed. They were like, this is, in fact, a blessing to mankind. Could we please purchase this from you, this patent? And he agreed and accepted $12,000 for his half share. The more canny Densmore, however, wouldn't sell unless the company agreed to pay him royalties. So the guy who he invented the keyboard with said, you have to pay me royalties. And it's been estimated that these were eventually worth $1.5 million to the partner.
Nice.
So thanks to Scholes and Densmore, they started producing typewriters a few months later, and one of their earliest customers was Samuel Clemens, better known as Mark Twain. And The Adventures of Tom Sawyer was one of Twain's most successful works, published in 1876, and it's widely believed to be the first novel typed on a typewriter.
Fair enough. Is there some slight irony to thinking that he called it a blessing to mankind, but historically so many typists were women?
Yeah, I suppose so.
I know it's more an archaicism. He wasn't thinking like men must use typewriters and no one else. It's a mechanical instrument and therefore for a man's hand. It's more the first mankind was how people said humans back in the day.
Yeah, I suppose so.
You're right, Jane.
It's like you said a man's hand.
Just the one hand of typing.
Remington, like, we agree, we make guns for the men and sewing machines for the women.
Don't see what the problem is here.
We're completely on board and we put this thoroughly in the men's section of our product.
Like the Remington has a men's department, it's just guns and typewriters.
Do you have a typewriter? So in the men's section.
But imagine how pissed off he must have been. He was like, 12K, baby. And then his mate was like, sorry, 1.5 million?
My dad told me the story about how he looked into the eyes of the man who sold Tony the Tiger as a cartoon. And it was like the most depressing story. So this guy drew Tony the Tiger from the Frosties.
Earn your stripes. Yeah.
And sold it for like £5,000. And it's like everywhere, so much money.
Uncle Ben was literally just a guy in the restaurant, and he did it for free. They took his likeness.
Really?
Yeah, Uncle Ben was literally. They thought at the time they had this product, and they were like, "How are we going to sell it?" And as I think that one of the guys said, we need a friendly face, like that guy over there pointing in the restaurant at a guy. Then they went over and asked him. He went, "Yeah, I'll do it," and then he put his face on it.
Uncle Ben, whoever he may have been, like the fact
Obviously
that he
his name wasn't actually Ben.
such a friendly face that someone that doing them was like, we'll use him for friendly. Like, I feel like
it was just an example. He
Yeah,
said
but not
that,
many people can claim. Like, say if you were in the street. Not many people. Like, if I stopped you around, find a friendly person, you look around, you'd be like,
yeah, but have you seen Uncle Ben's face?
I know. I'm just saying. That's my point.
It's just being so friendly looking that it's marketable.
I know someone who hasn't seen Uncle Ben's face for a while.
That is Peter Parker.
Damn it! I was going to make that joke.
Well, you took too much time to stand up, so didn't you?
I know.
I came in like the cuddle cut.
Do you know those ready-made cake mixers? Aunt Bessie. She's not an actual person.
No.
There's never been.
She's
an Aunt.
At least Uncle Ben was a real person. Well, his face was. That's so depressing.
What about Dr. Urtko? Is he real?
I don't know.
He was a
Probably
cult
is.
leader and a dangerous man.
Technically a doctor.
Only oats.
Yeah. Well,
Tonight we feast, boys.
with these. Yeah, I was saying that Aunt Bessie wasn't an actual person. The reason they did that is because housewives felt really uncomfortable with the idea that they could bake without doing anything. They could just get out of the box. It was a really unpopular product until they introduced the essential ingredient, which was like you have to add egg to it. Because you actually, for cake mixes, you don't need to add egg to it. But it market research showed that the housewives were much more likely to use it because they felt they were actually making something. But in fact, eggs and milk is not something you need to add to a cake mix in order for it to work. And Aunt Bessie had that name, that Aunt Bessie, is because...
Bessie ain't going to steal your man with her better cooking.
Yeah, first of all. And second of all, it all started out a radio program. The whole company started out as a radio...
recipe.
Yeah, they were like, oh, girls, if you have any good recipes for a red velvet cheesecake, send us a message. And then they gave her like a random name, like send Aunt Bessie a message, and then that's how the brand started.
I guess it's like Agony Aunt, kind of, in that sense.
There's something about the name
Why
Bessie.
does my husband hate my cooking?
Just add egg and armic. Then you feel like you're doing something when you're not.
Our last story today comes from the year 1992, when John Gotti began his life sentence in jail. John Gotti, if you're more familiar with European and I guess more primarily English history, was a very important figure in American history of crime, specifically, because he was the man that essentially started the whole well-dressed gangster kind of celebrity mobster type persona. So his reign kind of happened 60 years after Al Capone, and he was hugely successful, and for the longest time he's managed to avoid arrest. But the reason he is so famous was because of his ruthless nature. So he, like many boys that get inducted in...
Opposed to those really soft-natured criminals.
No, I was just going to say, it's the fact that calling him extremely famous when I think Al Capone still tops him on the being famous front.
Gotti's definitely one of the big ones. Gotti seized control of the Gambino crime family in a murderous coup. He started out his kind of gang involvement as a young kid. He was helping out. It wasn't like he was volunteering. I mean, I guess he was, but he was getting paid for it.
That went a bit back and forth there, Val, between yourself there.
Well, he wasn't volunteering, but maybe he was. Actually, he was.
He's getting paid for it. It was volunteering.
Was the in Bruges like?
Yes,
Mr. No.
Yes, Mr. Blakely. No, Mr. Crannan. Yes, Mr. Blakely.
So he started out at 18 when he was ranked by the police department as a low-level associate or a wannabe.
Did they say it like that to him? When they had him recording, they're like, well, it looks like you're a low-level associate. And he's like, they're like, trying not to cry. And they're like, a wannabe. And he's like, oh, please, hurt my feelings. I'll be something one day.
Well,
If I keep volunteering, allow me to
they call them gangbangers now, don't they?
I don't know. I haven't.
Some police do, yeah, but that's more.
That's why.
Yeah, it's like...
Yeah,
it's
but it's like a West Coast thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he grew up in New York. He was a little wannabe. He started out in this smaller kind of crew called the Fatico crew. And then for the next 8 years, his arrest record just kept growing and growing, from petty crimes like street fighting to stealing cars. And
Every time the police kept telling him,
You're
I've leveled
wannabe.
up. Like, he's still wannabe.
You haven't reached the gangbanging stage yet.
It's like, what was the two policemen like? Say, Sarge, do you think maybe if we stop bringing this kid down, he'd abandon his life of crime and become a decent citizen in this wonderful city? It's like, yeah, maybe, but it's fucking fun though, isn't it? Look at him cry.
Let's grade his crime.
I love police captain like, this is not our job at all.
Yeah, like, so tell me, are you in a police station right now? Yes. Oh, bad start.
Okay, but the reason we're talking about him being a wannabe and the fact that the police kind of dismissed him as a low-level associate is the fact that he, at the end of his career, he was leading one of the biggest, most damaging gangs in America.
I feel like, as you were saying, I enjoy this image of him like leveling, getting really high up, and it cuts to him like in like a park, and he's got like a box of chocolates. There's this really old like cop he's sitting there like feeding the ducks, and he comes up and he's like, I just want you to know that you always believed in me, that I could make it. And he's just there like frying the bread, like ignoring him, gives him the box of chocolates. He's like, I'm finally a drug lord now, I'm like a kingpin. And he's just
And
there,
he
like,
throws off the cape, but he's actually a young cop, and he arrests him straight away. Yeah, gotcha, you fool. F grade.
still just a wannabe.
My crime family.
In the 8 years when he was doing little jobs for the Fatico crew, he befriended a gentleman called Angelo Ruggiero, who was a nephew of Mr. de la Croix, who became instrumental in securing Gotti's later career and uprise. So his first major arrest came in 1968 when he and his brother Gene and Ruggiero went to prison, and they were charged for committing 3 cargo thefts and truck hijackings near Kennedy International Airport. They pleaded guilty, but they had reduced counts, with John Gotti serving like a 3-year sentence. And while he was in prison, the Fatico gang moved from East New York to a storefront in Ozone Park, Queens, and the new headquarters was incorporated, perhaps kind of ironically, as a non-profit organization, and named the Bergen Hunt and Fish Club. And while he was in prison, he had like frequent visits. Like, he basically got to go out to like these restaurants because the gang was like kind of taking him out and like looking after him and things. So
wait, while he was in prison?
Yeah. Because
The gang would just rock up and they'd be like, ding dong, and like this prison guard would answer the door like a dad at prom, like, hope you're going to treat him right tonight, boys. And then they're like, yes, sir, yes, sir, Mr. Ward. And he's like, all right, well, yeah. John! And he like comes down the stairs, his little prom dress, he's like, oh, you look so beautiful, I'm so proud of you tonight. Tonight my inmate becomes a woman.
I imagine him more like he comes down as a guy and like he takes him to one side, the warden takes him to one side, and he gives them the dad talk.
Yeah.
He slips him with Johnny. He's like, be safe.
Is that what your dad did? On your prom, your dad slipped you a Johnny and told you to be safe?
No, he didn't. There was a time on my 16th birthday that I had a card, and when my dad gave it to me, there was definitely something inside. It wasn't money. And he looked at me and was like, wait, so now you're 16. And you left the room. And I was like, what the fuck? So I opened the card up. thinking like, please don't have a condom with it. I opened it up and it was lottery tickets. I was like, thank fuck for that.
Oh my god, I don't know why, but when you were describing it, like, I had this really weird image in my head of you opening it, and it's a used condom that just says, your brother, with a post-it note on it. Oh.
Your mind works in mysterious ways, James.
It's fine.
No, but I honestly sat at that dining room table on my own whilst I was opening this letter, just being like, I don't want this to have a condom in it.
Without intending to spoil anything, this is sounding like he is the inspiration to Goodfellas.
Yeah, absolutely. And Godfather as well, and like all of those ones. Especially considering that he was such a celebrity. Like, he used to hang out with actors, actresses, like directors, whatever. He used to wear...
Like Martin Scorsese.
He used to wear like super expensive suits. Like, he was in the media all the time. Everybody knew that he was dirty, that he was guilty, but the police couldn't get anything on him. It wasn't that he was super careful. It was just the
did
fact
he get
that...
caught out for tax evasion?
That's Al Capone.
Oh, that's Al Capone. That's even more famous.
Not Mr. Gotti, the wannabe.
No. You come to me
It's a real... Guys, I think you're...
asking me for Johnny.
It's a real from rags to riches story, and you need to really take him on this ride, you know?
Treat him right. Treat him like a princess just for this night, and then never call him again.
The moment he left prison, his previous boss, so Fatico was like the head of like the little crew within the bigger gang. Fatico was facing a prison sentence for loan sharking, and then decided on a temporary retirement and assigned Gotti to run the gang temporarily. Of course, Gotti was like, power! So acting as crew chief, Gotti met frequently with Mr. Delacroix, who he'd met through his nephew, who took a great shine to him, and then...
Was it announced from King and Queen?
The whole gang is called the Gambino gang. So then the nephew of Carlo Gambino was abducted and murdered by someone in 1973, and John Gotti was so high up in the gang at this point that they gave him like the privilege of executing this James McBratney. That was like a really big deal for him. He's really excited.
It's like my Sweet 16. My parents got me a car. I got to murder someone.
I got to murder someone who upset the family. Oh, I was so proud. I remember my first time. Pop my cherry.
They put him away to prison for it, obviously, because it's manslaughter, but again, reduced charges.
It's manslaughter.
I just said murder.
Yeah, he executed someone.
No, but
plan.
I was imagining him like holding the gun. Whoops.
No, but if you imagine at this point, he's now part of the Gambino family. He's done something for one of the execs. You know? Yeah, and so they managed to get him a really good lawyer who somehow got reduced charges of attempted manslaughter, might I add. And he only served a term of 4 years.
Attempted manslaughter?
Yeah.
How does that happen?
I'm guessing judicial corruption and plea bargain.
Yeah, because I'm just saying that, like, you know, is the person dead? Yes. Well, it's at least manslaughter then. There's no debating that. Could the defence please present the witness of the deceased? And if he is alive, then we will listen to this attempted manslaughter.
So 4 years in prison, another stint in prison. He takes this time to really get wedge, to make connections. While he's in prison, Carlo Gambino, the main man, he dies. And by normal rights of succession, the family's underboss, so Mr. Delacroix, the man he was mates with, should have been elevated, but Gambino had anointed his brother-in-law, Paul Castellano, as heir, which meant that there was this beef because, you know, it's like having a will that like completely fucks the whole system. So Paul was now the leader of this Gambino gang, and he didn't want to be an asshole about it. He knew that Delacroix was the one who was supposed to be taking charge. And as a consolation prize, he allowed him to remain underboss and gave him 10 of the 23 crews that they had to control, which meant that he created two factions and was essentially the reason that led to his demise later on.
All of this is reminding me of a Shadow of Mordor with the orc ranking systems.
That's what they're based off. Yeah. Alright, John got his life. Let's make it a video game, but in Lord of the Rings.
Sexy.
Do you remember when he used to go around ghost possessing orcs' faces and making them join his gang?
So going back to sexy orcs, Gotti leaves prison and he's like this muscular, barrel-chested, broad-shouldered, 5'10", fucking 200 pounds motherfucker.
I thought you were going to say, like, you know, like 7 foot, like he's bigger, like 5'10", average.
Leaves prison, he's got wannabe tattooed on his back in, like, crude writing.
But he's a thick boy, okay?
Is that described?
Yeah.
Is that what the defence lawyer said? My defendant is a thick boy. The judge's like, I'll allow it.
He was on his once.
Yeah.
So he comes out of prison. His mate, Delacroix, is like the underboss. And
hasn't changed position.
No, he's pissed.
Yeah.
He gave Gotti a really good job in the gang. He's now controlling the thing. He got married, had 2 daughters, 3 sons. Like he's living the life, but he's getting angry because by 1980s, his prominence in the Gambino family had turned him into a major target for like federal and city prosecutors.
How unfortunate for him. He got annoyed at that. My life of crime has attracted some heat.
Which meant
Who would believe it? Who would believe that the police no longer think I'm a law-abiding citizen after my prison stint and notorious gang affiliation?
An attempted manslaughter.
Yeah. Who would have thought it that they go, we don't believe you're an upright gentleman, sir.
I'm going to justify it for now, if you give me a moment. The reason he was upset that the FBI was starting to look at him is because now it brought to light the fact that he had been selling drugs, which was something that Castellano was really vehemently against, because he knew that at the moment the FBI starts paying attention to them at that level, because, if they're stealing cars, killing people once in a while, it wasn't as much of interest because not as much money was going in there. The moment that it came to light that Gotti was involved in the drug trafficking business, Castellano basically said word out that he's done so. Like he was gonna make sure that he's fucked, basically. Not only did Gotti gain the attention of the FBI, but he also besmirched Castellano's name because he's not listening to him, and he's kind of like 3 steps beneath him. There's this huge malarkey about it, and Gotti asked...
What a good
real
word.
kerfuffle.
It's real malarkey. There's a real uproar.
So Gotti was like, shit, gonna die. Della Croc, man, come on, I thought we were tight. Like, can you sort him out? Like, can you talk to Castellano? Like, I really, I love being in this gang. Like, it's all I have, sort of thing. And like, yeah, of course I'm gonna help you out. But then he died of cancer, which meant that now...
You make it sound like he did it vindictively, like, don't worry, boy, I'll help you. I feel like in this, you're getting better? Is that what the doctors say? Yeah, I'll totally get on that.
Castellano appoints a new underboss, which made Gotti even more angry because he was like, why are you replacing kind of like my man's place with someone new? And he basically, his crew went and killed this guy. So at this point, Castellano's like, literally, you're giving me nothing.
So he got upset that a man who died was replaced by another man as opposed to leaving the job vacant or replacing it with him who is on the hit list of the person above. I'm really not... I didn't get promoted by the guy who wants to kill me. Really? Guess what? What? He hired someone else. Can you believe it?
And the police, the FBI,
are looking at me
because of my drug dealing.
He sounds like the world's best, making himself the victim in this story.
No, of course. You've got to be like that.
The police don't like me very much.
Well, they're just a load of bullies.
Yeah.
So there's this investigation going on, obviously, about the drug trafficking charges. And as often happened with these gang-related charges, they tried to collect as much evidence as possible to incriminate as many people, well, not incriminate, punish as many people from the gang as possible for these dealings. So while this drug trafficking charge and they were acquiring evidence, all of that was going on, it was quite a big chunk of time during which Bella Croc dies from cancer, not able to intervene with Castellano. Castellano hires someone else. And at this point, Gotti realizes that one way or another, he's going to get fucked. He's not afraid of going to prison. He's been there before. It's fine. But he doesn't want to leave prison because he's going to have nothing to come back to if Castellano doesn't want him around. So he basically pulls a proper fucking Game of Thrones moves on him, kills Castellano, kills the new guy that was hired, kills pretty much everyone single-handedly in one night, becoming the leader of the Gambino family.
Cool. And when does he die or go to prison or...
He was sentenced in 92
for life.
How long? Surely in that he must have died. How long was he in prison for?
He died, I think, in 2002.
Yeah, I was going to say for 10 years.
Yeah.
So he was in charge.
Not really much for a life imprisonment. And obviously, he didn't predict that he was going to die, but they caught him quite
late,
near the end of his reign.
Yeah.
So he was in charge of the gang for about 7 to 8 years.
Yeah, but it took a lot of work for them to get to that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
They acquired more crews within the gang, so the gang kept expanding and expanding. And throughout this entire time, obviously there were these charges against them initially, and then all of them were dropped either because they've intimidated or bribed the jury, which meant that the police were absolutely just flabbergasted about what can we actually do? How can we take this motherfucker down? Because they, in this club room that I told you about at the beginning, the original place where he would get together with his old mates, police tapped many of his usual places to go, including the kind of the hub of his original crew, where he would go and get his hair done. He used to get his hair washed, cut and blow dried every single day. in the mornings, and then people would come and have to report to him.
Fabulous.
If his hair was out of place.
No, people.
Fabulous spending.
Yeah, like...
No, he was spending loads of money. He was
Waste of time more than money at that
So,
point. Like, there's better ways to
while
flash
he's
your
getting
cash.
his hair done, he was having the representatives of different crews coming in to him and reporting, and they would come in like 4 to 5 times a week, which is what made it so easy for the police to basically profile, be like, who's this? This guy's coming from here. This is everybody who's implicated in this gang. And they had recordings from within that room of them talking about planning killings, all of this stuff, and they would play them to the jury, and the jury would be like, sounds like an innocent man to me. And the police were so frustrated that this kept happening. Eventually, like years later, they managed to
Uncorrupt the justice system
Of America. Well done.
get his partner, Mr. Gravana, to testify in court because he was actually his partner. So he was able to say, like, no,
Wait.
like legit, it was
As in partner,
no,
partner?
his partner in crime.
Crime.
Not like life partners.
Not partner in life, partner in crime. Sometimes the same thing can be...
James, he took him to prom. He never, like, no one in that went to
High
prom
school
together.
sweethearts.
They
Never stayed
married.
together, yeah.
No, he betrayed him.
I like to think that it would have been much smarter, hear me out, if he was going to get his hair done every day, right? Rather than blabbing openly about what they were going to do, they should have shaved
code.
the information in his head. Look, and then they'd shave it off. It'd be gone.
Yeah, but how many days can you do that, James, until you run out of hair?
No, we used to do it every day. Like just
Exactly.
No,
So then by like Wednesday,
Other people.
he's bald.
you got loads of the gang in there, like who get the haircut, and like John Gotti's like the guy comes in and he goes like, John, check number 4, and he goes like, and he turns and it's got like the drug numbers in the side of his head, and John then like nods, and the hair salon girl goes, off it goes. Police stumped. James, crime lord for life, all in the hair. No one ever thinks of the hair, do they? Cut to room full of
Write it down.
room full of producers like, well, it's a no. The hair crime for a plot point.
Just write it down. Why would you need to shave?
Well, because they talk.
hands?
It leaves a trail. So, no trail of
James,
hair.
James.
Fire erasers.
James, I write something down on a piece of paper, I show it to you, I then fold it up, eat it, digested.
So you're telling me as a gang boss, you'd have your guys come in silently, hold your piece of paper, you nod at them, and then you just fold it up and just like,
So which one seems more ridiculous, James?
no, I guess to put well, I'm just a skinhead.
My idea is the least ridiculous,
that's their
but it
trick.
still involves having a furnace in the corner of a hair salon. So
Oh yeah, a lighter. They all carry Zippos, mate.
His mate sold him out. His mate got 5 years in prison, whereas Gotti got life imprisonment. And he was sentenced and put aboard a plane and flown to maximum security prison that same day. But previously to this, for years, because they've been trying to get him and they haven't been able to, he had this reputation that he was like invincible, like he was amazing, and no one could touch him. And then the moment he went to prison, his influence and the entire crime family just disintegrated to nothing. This empire he'd built of like earning, I think like something like $500 million a year, not a year, I think a month.
How old was he when he went to prison?
He was 52
When he died,
when he went to prison.
he went to prison.
so 60 odd when he died.
He died young.
No, what, 52
But also, like, I'm just saying, like, what, 50 million now? Pablo Escobar did more than that. He's cooler.
Congratulations, you've picked
And
the best dinosaur.
I bet he didn't get his hair done every day either. You know what he did? He hid little bits of information in his moustache.
For God's sake. Okay.
So would come in, he'd be there, like, get it waxed, and he'd, like, slip out the note.
No. What he'd do is he'd grow the top line of his moustache really long, and he would lift it up, and on the top of his lip he had written the information.
Yeah.
He just puts the moustache
And
down.
it'd be like a lipstick, and then, like, lick his lips, and he'd apply it again.
Applies lipstick.
Yeah, like, to the top of his lip.
Oh, no, okay. Not just like he just lick his lips and then just apply lipstick.
Kiss the mirror and be like, I'd fuck me. If that isn't the first scene of the show Narcos I haven't watched, I don't want to watch it.
I don't think it is.
That was the story of John Gotti, and we're not the only ones who are interested in finding out about it, because recently a film called Gotti premiered at the Cannes Film Festival, starring John Travolta
playing
as
Gotti.
And
Does he play Gotti throughout his life?
I like how she
Yes.
said, as it's the movie Gotti, starring John Travolta, and you had to ask the question, is he playing Gotti?
No, because hear me out. If it's about his life, I feel like John Travolta is an old, saggy man. Say, for example, this Django Unchained, starring Christoph Waltz and Leonardo DiCaprio. Are they Django? or are they unchained? Neither is the answer.
To be fair, neither of them are in chains.
No, the point I'm trying to say is that starring John Travolta, I didn't think he'd be like playing this young guy phrase. Like, imagine John Travolta sitting there playing like an 18-year-old gangster.
Yeah, more importantly, this movie throws up more questions because was he like really badly CGI'd to look younger?
It was just creative lighting. I mean, the entire film was
Creative lighting. Dark to make John Travolta look 18. I'm imagining John Travolta like sitting there like, so John, we're thinking of, obviously casting someone younger to play young. No, use creative lighting. I look young. And then they're like, don't know.
So then you've got John Travolta coming down the stairs in a prom dress. Surrounded by 18-year-old boys.
guys.
You guys are really flogging that meme.
They might as well have paraded him around in a prom dress because here's the thing. This film got 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, yeah? But another juicy detail about it is that the person who scored the entire film, I'm talking music scores and songs featured, is none other than Pitbull.
Mr. Worldwide.
Mr. Worldwide himself came down from the heavens, from
wherever he was.
I feel
from
like
whatever city.
Pitbull doesn't come from heaven.
No, because he's Mr. Worldwide. He was somewhere on this planet.
Yeah.
Just somewhere.
We know where. Miami.
No, Mr. Worldwide.
No,
he could be anywhere.
No, it's Mr. Worldwide, but there's a slight bias, shall we say, towards Miami.
He gets a phone call. He's like, oh yeah, I'm coming back. Where are you, Mr. Worldwide? I'm in Chad. Puts on the phone. Send the chopper.
I'm currently chilling out with these Bedouins I found.
So, just to give you some lyrics from the film, the opening sequence features these lyrics. There's rules and codes, won't break them for no one, unless you're a fool, like that fucking prick, Sammy the Bull, which refers to the guy that sold John out. It's like real good rhyming.
I'm imagining this now. A, Pitbull's voice, and B, it like coming to a montage of John Travolta trying to play an 18-year-old boy with those lyrics over the top of it.
Pom dress walking down the street menacingly.
Get into street fights.
The film finishes with the lines, because the film was based on the biography of Gotti's eldest son. So it's kind of like the entire story of Gotti himself from his perspective. So it's weird, like, this is a really weird line.
If it doesn't start with, my dad always looked old, then that's the only way I'll believe the suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, exactly. So Pitbull finishes this epic with the lines, Dapper Don, I called him dad, giant in my eyes, legend of a man.
Can I point out,
why didn't it end with something like, Gotti Spaghetti had been forgotten?
no, can I point out, like, why is this song lyrics, like, glorifying? I mean, I know it's a film about him, but like, this guy, like, killed people, sold drugs, and then they're like, my dad was a legend, he was a great man. No, he was a terrible human being.
So that was one of the critiques of the film. It's the fact that it was basically unapologetically on the side of the criminals, despite the fact that they have shown no redeeming qualities, and the fact that Travolta's acting in it, and I quote, this is from The Guardian, has been compared to being a mishmash of Tony Soprano versus the Dolmio dad.
That makes me so happy.
Wigs that looked like they came out straight out of Party City.
Off the shelf pasta sauce.
And the problem that they had, right?
With this
Gotti himself. So obviously John Travolta plays him from 30 to 60.
Okay. It wasn't
it's not ridiculous. It's not like he's playing 16. It's just like...
Because I was say, the amount of creative lying you need there would just be no lying whatsoever and just like John Travolta talking in the dark. And then they'd be like...
No, because he wouldn't even sound like an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
So they aged him up like in 3 increments.
They've aged John Travolta down in 2 increments.
Down to 30 and they just took...
And by that do you mean... And in 3 increments, they just up the brightness of the screen.
So in 30, they put on this black, shiny wig on him that just did not look convincing in the slightest. They used like a really bright light in his face to try and imply that he's 30. Really sweetened that frame.
God, he probably looked like Steven Seagal.
Look, yeah, it looked like it'd been like sharp. His head had been sharpied on.
No, he looked like a fan drawing Steven Seagal came to life on Twitter. Like, Steven, I did this of you, and it became alive, and it was John Travolta all sweetened with this wig on, like.
And then obviously as the film goes on, he looks better because he looks more like himself. They're not putting as much makeup on him. But towards the end, obviously he's got cancer.
And he looks fantastic.
And
he looks just like John Travolta.
They've got like this tumor prosthetic that they put on him that genuinely just looks like a tit on his chin.
Tinny chin. Where the tinny chin, John?
So John Gotti got convicted on 13 counts, and this article from The Guardian basically quotes 13 reasons why Gotti with John Travolta is the most criminally awful thing they've ever seen. So John Travolta is being aged up, aged down, whatever, like getting a tip on his chin. But his son, meanwhile, the actor that plays him, looks exactly the same throughout the film. So it's like his son is like this ageless, like immortal being. Whereas his
I've
dad...
transcended time. Come, join the coven of the night. Not with the titty chin, I don't want to live with this forever. Let me die.
No, but like, what a way of turning your book into a movie where you're like, yeah, my dad's gonna look like shit, but can you make sure that I stay young and look hot?
Forever.
Yeah,
right, and
thanks.
also my claim to fame is that I was a notorious gangbanger's son, so I get to tell you what to do.
His son was shit at the gang as well after his dad went to prison.
Is the gang any there around anymore?
Yeah, because
well done, Edward.
he got arrested like I think next year after his dad got arrested. Like that's lame.
Hey, he just was like, look. Oh, I want to see Dad for Christmas. I'll just get arrested. Go see him in prison.
I'll just get attempted manslaughter.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so
Like, can you imagine
This
being that
Travolta
prosecutor?
nightmare.
Just being there like, well, our client attempted manslaughter. Exhibit 1. The picture of his blown-in head.
No. Think about the police as well when they...
Yeah.
This is literally recordings of him saying all
I
of his
shot him in the
crimes.
back of the face! Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like, no.
Imagine how angry he'd be.
You know what? It's sometimes that when you need some more maverick cops who are just there like, you know what? I'm taking one for the team. Bang.
You need the Batman.
You're the Batman.
The role of Gotti's wife is played by none other than John Travolta's wife. Her name is Kelly Preston, and it's her first screen appearance in 8 years. So a little bit of nepotism there. So she's in the film. Her character's not great, as you can imagine. We've barely talked about the wife. She's barely had any part in this whole ordeal, and she's played by Kelly Preston, which you could argue plays her well based on the material.
Did she? I mean, got a 0. Pal. I feel like you don't. Even if there was one redeeming actor, you'd be like, well, give it a 1 out of 100.
But the reason this film is being talked about quite a lot in the last couple of weeks is not just because of the fact that it got a 0 on Rotten Tomatoes, but about the fact that it got a premiere at Cannes. Because from the very get-go, this whole production was riddled with issues. It was getting delayed. The directors kept changing. At one point, they wanted like
Duke Nukem of movies.
So at one point, there were talks about Al Pacino, Joe Pesci, Lindsay Lohan all being fitted in this film somehow. And then
Was Lindsay Lohan going to play John Guy?
And then basically the production company were just trying to sweep it under the rug, like do like a really small premiere, like a tiny little screen, like straight to DVD release. Oh no. John Travolta decided, because he was invited.
He's a fucking idiot.
He was invited to hold like an honorary actor event about Greece. So he basically wanted to come to Cannes and be like,
Hold up pictures of him from Grease Lightning and be like, there's no difference. There's just no difference.
creative lighting.
I haven't aged a day. Get that lamp.
So apparently nobody was expecting them at the Cannes. It was kind of like a last minute fitting, which seems like it was more of a clause of the fact that John Travolta agreed to doing this Grease Lightning appearance. Because
It feels like, the way you're describing it, feels like the people at Cannes were like there's a security guard walking back and he's like, hey, who's locked me out of the corner with? Oh no, John's in there, he's got Gotti! And he's like putting it on like,
because
I only came here he only did the Grease Lightning thing to get into the real room.
Because the director came out when he was introducing like the cast, and he seemed so pissed off.
He said, just avert your eyes.
He was like so angry. Said John Travolta's name with like fucking venom. Didn't speak for most of like the Q&A session before, and it was like
he made it. Like, why has he been like, how dare you bring my shame to the world and I helped craft?
Yeah, but like, James, let's say you discreetly took a shit in the corner of a room, and then one of your friends came over, pointed at it, and went, "Look what James made! Look what James made! He made a poo."
I wouldn't shit in the corner of a room, so.
Also, I feel
what
like
are you talking about? I wouldn't just.
James, you're locked in a room with 3 people. Eventually, you're
No
gonna
one
need shit.
locked this director in a room with John Travolta, who was like, "I'm playing Gotti, and you're director." Handcuffed himself to the camera.
I know. I think there's a
think
case
that-
to be made that it was like this guy's a director who John Travolta
Yeah.
hired, and John Travolta's like, no, just sit behind the camera and I will decide what to do. Because
John-
this is obviously John Travolta's like, I'm a famous actor. I'll pay for this out of my own money. It's my film kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like John Travolta's career won't die after this. Like we all love John Travolta. Like whether he's because he's fun to watch. Like he's yes, of course he is.
I wouldn't classify him as one of those. Like
I
we all
would
love
Name,
him, fun to
yes,
watch.
like, it was good. Like name.
He was in Pulp Fiction. I like
Yeah,
that.
it was like Pulp Fiction, great movie, but that was more of Quentin Tarantino's work more than John Travolta being a good
It also
actor.
saved his career. He was plummeting at the time.
Swordfish.
Never seen.
Never seen.
It was
OJ, The People versus OJ Simpson. He was
Probably the worst part of that.
Travolta is not a name that's gonna
Shapiro.
fade away.
Grease as well. Yeah.
And for as long as he lives, like, he's gonna keep shoving himself into these projects, keep investing this money into this stuff.
I guess the point.
Whereas, like, the director,
love him
he
or hate him,
fucks up.
his name's Seth.
Yeah. Whereas the director, he's fucked up on this film. It's gotten 0% of Rotten Tomatoes. Like, the critics have been so horrible about this, both in terms of, like, how badly the film was made, how it was produced and released and exposed to people, that they're, like, they're putting him, like, on a blacklist of directors who would want to hire him to direct something for them. It sucks. So I would be angry too.
It does suck, but also he could have walked away from the project like probably all the other directors.
Yeah, they did.
That saved themselves. So, I'm just saying. No one's holding him there at gunpoint. You guys are, you're acting like...
in all fairness, the only thing at stake was probably a shit ton of money.
Yeah. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, it's
Anyway,
it's
At the end of the day, he should release a quote saying, yeah, it's a shit movie, but I got $dollar bill.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was the story of Gotti. It's very rare that we get a day in history that links so closely to something that's happened really recently, because this whole Gotti film controversy that came out recently has been very, very juicy for me to listen to and watch. And with that, we have wrapped up Today in History. Congratulations, you've made it, which means now it's time for Famous Facts. So today on Famous Facts. So Famous Facts is a segment where I go through the day of our recording and I find out the different people from different backgrounds who were famous for one thing or another, very, very vague. And I pick out different bits from their biography and then I ask you to match up the facts with the person. Therefore, famous facts. So on today's list, we've got John of the Cross, born in 1542. He was a major figure of the Counter-Reformation, a Spanish mystic, a Roman Catholic priest, and a Carmelite friar. We've got, following on from that, 1872, Frank Crowninshield, an American journalist and art and theatre critic. Then we have 1949, John Ilse, an English musician best known as a bass guitarist of the rock band Dire Straits. We've got 1979, Petra Nemcova, a Czech model, a television host and a philanthropist. And 1987, if you haven't heard enough about the World Cup, we've got Lionel Messi, an Argentinian footballer, philanthropist, legend.
Tax dodger
To others. Let's get into that. So the first person here has signed a contract that defined their career on a napkin. Is it Lionel Messi, Frank Crowninshield, Petra Nemcova, John of the Cross, or John Ilse? Who do you boys think?
That's it. Well, I think when it comes to signing contracts, I think that comes down to the Czech model of a footballer.
Yeah. But I think Messi has a lot more interesting things in his biography, to be honest. I'm going to go Czech model. James?
We have the model. We have a journalist.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the journalist.
So we've got model, journalist, footballer, priest, and a musician.
I feel like...
Oh, musician.
Yeah, it's Dire Straits.
I know.
I'm good. Yeah, I really don't know.
I'm going to say Lionel Messi.
Yep.
I feel like that's the kind of like, I don't know, it's the kind of thing that, again, I can see a footballer doing.
Okay, then I'm going to change to Dire Straits.
Okay. And Jonah?
For the sake of variety, I'm going to say the journalist. I'll be like, so-and-so covered this famous event. Fuck!
The death of their brother caused them to relocate and massively change their life. Is it Lionel Messi, Frank Crowninshield, Petra Nemcova, John of the Cross, or John Ilse? For the sake of ease, footballer, journalist, model, priest, or musician?
I feel like the Czech model could have moved. Because I don't know, obviously I may be ignorant, but I don't imagine the Czech Republic / Czechoslovakia, depending on the era, was particularly a fashion-centric part of the world. I imagine they probably emigrated.
Jonah?
I'm going to say Messi. Don't know why.
I'm going to go for the friar.
So this person owned like a pub equivalent. So they own like
A tavern or...
a tavern bar type thing.
Damn.
So
Dire Straits.
Messi, Crowninshield, Nemcova, John of the Cross, or John Ilse?
I would say John Ilse.
Okay, James?
As much as I delight in the idea that this monk / friar owned a pub.
He might have brewed.
Yeah,
but
probably
obviously
monks brew a lot.
Yeah, but this thing is, I imagine he'd probably be a brewery in the Abbey or wherever, rather than him opening up his own private side business as a pub. I'm going to say musician. Yeah, Dire Straits dude.
I'm going to go for model. She loves to drink.
Right. This person was described as the most cultivated, elegant, and endearing person in their field, if not the city they were operating in. Is it the footballer, the journalist, the model, the priest, or the musician?
I'd say the journalist. Crowninshield.
Yeah, I was going to go journalist.
And Jonah?
I've said the journalist already, haven't I? Model.
And lastly, this person lost their partner in a natural disaster. Is it Lionel Messi,
God.
Frank Crowninshield, Petra Nemtsova, John of the Cross, or John Ilsey?
Well, I have
It's not going to be John of the Cross.
Yeah, it's not going to be John of the Cross, is it?
I'm
His
stuck
partner.
I'm stuck
The
with
friar's partner's wife. Like, no!
I'm
They're
stuck
like,
with Messi.
yeah, who's notoriously married his childhood sweetheart, and as far as I'm aware, she's still alive.
Yes. Unless... Oh, no, but there's something like... In my head, I always do this when it comes to famous facts, where if I know a person, I think of the famous facts I know about them, and I don't say their name because I hope that fact comes up. No, but like Messi had growth problems. I was waiting for something about growth hormones.
Well, in any case, I'm saying
Growing
John of
pain.
the Cross.
He actually had anabolic steroids because when he first started
John of the
playing
Cross is
football,
all I got.
when he first started playing football,
Who have you got left for?
Messi.
Messi was my last.
Yeah. Go through, Val. Let us know who these people were.
So, just to go through it one more time, I'm going to repeat the people, I'm going to repeat the facts. So, 1987, Lionel Messi, Argentinian footballer and philanthropist. 1872, Frank Crowninshield, American journalist and art and theatre critic. 1979, Petra Nemtsova, Czech model, television host and philanthropist. 1542, John of the Cross, major figure of the Counter-Reformation, a Spanish mystic, a Roman Catholic priest and a Carmelite friar. And 1949, John Ilsey, English musician, bass known as bass guitarist of the rock band Dire Straits. So, fact number 1. This person signed a contract on a napkin. You've gone for Lionel Messi, James. You've gone for Frankenshield.
Yeah.
And you have gone for John Ilsey. And the person who is right, because there is one winner, is James. Lionel Messi actually signed his first contract on a napkin. The team that signed him wanted him so badly, they covered all the medical costs of...
Anabolic steroids.
They covered his medical costs, relocation costs, all at the age of 13. He was 13 years old when he signed his first contract. He's currently, I believe, the second wealthiest player just behind Ronaldo.
He was also extremely small for his age. He was one of the smallest players on the team at the time. They thought, oh, this guy's really, really good, but he's a bit small. He's not going to be able to compete with the other footballers. And then they saw him play and said, no, this kid is phenomenal. What we need to do is basically give him steroids and get him bigger. So like he absolutely, well, he's not that tall now, but like he absolutely shot up in height and strength because he had major problems with like his legs and things like that. But he was still amazing.
I read the really distinctive thing about the way that he plays football, not that I know much about it, is that unlike other players, his ability and precision and skill seems to get better as the game is going on. So whereas most people would like tire themselves out immediately, or like say for example in the last couple of games, like Ronaldo would like get a goal in the first 4 minutes, for example, like Messi is very consistent and continues improving as the match goes on, which works well considering they're like 90 minutes long. When you think about it, when you watch a football match, it's fucking exhausting watching it. A to B to C to A. It's like people just passing a ball to one another. To me, it's not as exciting as watching something a little bit more like high contact, like a gladiator pit.
Look at that contact, spurring blood everywhere.
But when you think about the fact that you're running about for 90 minutes, that's a lot.
Yeah, 90 seconds for me is enough.
Fact number 2 is the death of their brother caused them to relocate. In reading this fact, I learned a new word for myself and I was really excited about it, and the word is peño.
It's the monk.
It is the monk. James, you've gone for Petra. You're wrong. You've gone for...
Messi.
And you've gone for the monk. So that's 1-1 for now. So this person...
1-1-0.
Let's point out the failures of our third member.
Person owns a pub equivalent. James and Jonah went for John Ilsey, and you've gone for Petra Nemtsova. The correct answer is John Ilsey. In fact, his pub is on the list of top 50 pubs in Britain, top best pubs in Britain.
50 left.
Yeah.
So that's 2-1-1. This person was described as the most cultivated, elegant, and endearing person in their field.
Elegant should have given it away.
If not the entire city. James, you've gone for Frank Crowninshield, you've gone for Petra Nemtsova, and you've gone for Frank Crowninshield. James, you are now on 3 points. Saul, you are on 2 points, and Jonah, you're on 1 point. This person has lost their partner in a natural disaster, which at this point leaves only Petra, and none of you guys went for her, so that means that James, you win this round. Unfortunately, Petra and her husband found themselves caught up in the 2004 Boxing Day tsunami in Thailand. Her husband actually drowned, and she really badly injured her pelvis. Throughout her life, even before this, she's been very passionate advocate of philanthropist causes. She's a very big advocate about more sustainable food practices. She's a vegan and like protects like sea and wildlife there. Petra, unfortunately, she had to go through that. The other story about, so the death of their brother caused him to relocate. John of the Cross grew up in a really poor family. His dad was from like a middle class family and decided to marry a working class woman who was a weaver, and his family basically disowned him, which meant that they had to move to a different town and like try and find work some other way. At that point, his dad took up weaving as well. They couldn't get enough money. The dad died from exhaustion because he'd been working such crazy amount of hours to try and support his family. Unfortunately, John of the Cross's brother died from starvation, and at that point they basically moved cities, and then John became an acolyte and later on moved up in the church. Although it is an old story, it's 1542 when he was born. It, I guess, goes to show how religious organisations have helped many people in adversity.
I just remember in the era, the church was everything.
Yeah.
Like
it's education and morality,
medicine, like community. It was the only organisation that really kind of did anything for people. Like,
only cost us hundreds of years of torture and a few crusades.
Absolutely,
fair trade.
And also 1/3 of the land in Europe, which they bought up. But the point is
half the land in France.
Yeah, the point I'm trying to say is that like people do often sideline its important historically beyond like the cruelties of the church.
Yeah,
they don't acknowledge that the reason it was so important to people is because, as I said, it was the centre of everything. And like say if you were living in a village, the church, as you say, is the education, medicine, everything to that church, the most important place.
I think a friend quoted to me a Marxist poet who described the church as the flowering vine that grows around the chain of capitalism. Because I'm as much as say yes, it's education, yes, it's healthcare. Like less and less often, I find myself forgiving it for the rest of its shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was Famous Facts. Congratulations, James, for winning. Thank you, boys, for playing. You get your participation medals. You get the wooden spoon, as you would on those fun races in school.
I mean, it was 3-2-1. Like, I mean, don't pin us together.
You get the spoon. You get nothing. That's
you
how
don't even
it
get
works.
the commiseration prize. You just get to go home with your not quite medal, which doesn't exist. That'd be so condescending. Imagine that. The Olympics was like gold for you, the not quite medal for you.
Isn't that just silver anyway?
Yeah, it's what it is. But
Let's be honest. The wooden spoon is the best prize.
no, it isn't, Val. I think the solid gold amulet is.
Nobody
solid
gives you
gold.
solid gold in school. Like, come on, those trophies
Well,
are
someone didn't go to Eton.
plastic.
Here's your fun run medal. It is a solid gold statue.
And that was Famous Facts, which means it's now time for conspiracy theories. So today I'll be covering a particular story which comes from 1947, and this day in particular, which is the story of the first widely reported UFO sighting near Mount Rainier in Washington by Kenneth Arnold. So the reason I'm talking about this is obviously because it happened on this day, but also because of the massive impact it had on theories about UFOs and government involvement in covering things up. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Kenneth Arnold. So Kenneth Arnold was a pilot, and when he saw what he saw, he was flying to spot a ship, I believe. They tasked him to find the ship, and he was flying over Washington basically trying to locate it. And at this time, when his initial reports came out, he was contacted, I think the same day, by various press organizations in America, in Europe, everywhere. Everybody wanted to know what the hell was going on. And he tells the story that on June the 24th, Tuesday, 1947, he had finished his work for the Central Air Service in Chehalis, Washington, and about 2 o'clock he took off from Chehalis Airport with the intention of going to Yakima Wash, where he was looking for this marine transport. As he flew past Mount Rainier and he was looking around, he spotted something quite strange surrounding the peaks of the mountain. And the reason his account is so influential in this field is because of how specific he was and how difficult it was for any non-believers to really question his account, because many of the kind of skeptical explanations don't entirely discredit what he was talking about. And he was actually the first person to use the term flying saucer, because that's exactly what he saw and how he described it. As he was flying, he noted that about 15 miles in the distance, there were these objects circling the mountain. And using the different tools that he had in his pockets, he was able to determine that this was something that was quite big, about 5 miles across.
Sorry, I love the idea of like he pulled out something from his pocket and determined it was quite big, and he just like, I don't know, like a pack of Jaffa cakes or something, just holds it up and he's like, yeah, that's looking huge, mate.
Almost as big as this yummy Jaffa.
What he saw absolutely astounded him. He was so shocked to see something else in the sky with him because he wasn't told that there was going to be something else. When he saw how easily and quickly it was flying, how odd it looked, initially he thought it was military aircraft by the US government. He was really curious about how it worked because obviously he was flying kind of like a bog standard plane. He was a well-reputed pilot up until this point. This made him infamous and to a degree caused a few problems for him later on in his career because of the fact that he made this account. So he saw this object by the mountains. He judged that it was about 5 miles across. He said when he looked at it straight on from the side, unless it turned, it looked absolutely flat like a black line. And then when it turned, he saw that it was actually saucer-like in shape. The reason he noticed it is because there was a reflection on the glass that caught his attention. The light shining from the sun reflected on the pane of this object and refracted through the window into his eyes. And he was like, what is that? He looks, he sees this really strange thing. The thing that shocked him most of all was the fact that it didn't have any wings and it didn't have a tail. For him, somebody who's been an avid fan of airplanes, somebody who's flown so many different types of airplanes, he was absolutely shocked. He was like, how could this thing possibly exist? How could it fly the way that it flies? Because it seemed to be very constant. It was weaving in and out. And unlike a plane of the time, it wasn't bopping up and down. It was very consistent.
Very stable.
Honestly, reading this account, considering how much he's tried to justify himself in trying to say, look, I'm being as accurate as possible here, really does make me think that he was saying his truth, you know?
Yeah.
He says within 2 minutes of him observing these objects flying around the mountain, he said that they moved much further than his plane could ever allow him to do so. So that's why he thought it was military.
How many are there? Because you started saying 5 miles across.
So he says he judged that they were about 5 miles across, as in each individual saucer is about 5 miles across.
Yeah, so how many saucers are there?
I think he said he saw something like 5 or 6. As they were weaving through, it was glinting in his vision.
And no one else saw 5 or 6 5-mile across saucers.
They did. They were later accounts from other pilots that said that...
No, I mean people on the ground. 5 miles covers a lot.
No, because it was at a really high altitude. It was very high up. You wouldn't be able to...
Well, it's only 900
I don't think it's an occupied area. It's by a mountain.
But I'm just saying, a cloud...
I don't think it was very populated. And if you think of the time, I don't think it would... I think it's even less likely that it would be populated enough.
Yeah, Washington State, not Washington.
It's very...
District of Columbia. It's
very mountainous.
It's northwest America up on the Canadian border.
Yeah, but I'm just saying,
I agree, but that was never in contention whether or not somebody from the ground could see because of the fact that it was such an unlikely thing for somebody to be down there in the first place. And he says that they were moving in a natural way. Within the space of 2 minutes, they moved probably something that would require him 10. And that made him think that it was a military grade thing. He drew a picture, which you'll be seeing now, guys. It's not a very good picture, but essentially it's our first image of the flying saucer. The reason why this is significant is, first of all, because he used that phrase that's caught on massively, and because of the fact that this was the first description of something like this. So there's a list of reported UFO sightings throughout history. So starting from 1440 BC, there were descriptions of fire in the sky, fiery discs, like things like that. But I think, as far as I'm aware, his was the first account that described it as something that was metal, something that was thin and disc-like in shape. It was a very different image. It wasn't like, nowadays we have this image of aliens as like these grey things or these green things. Say, for example, if Saul, you said that you saw an alien and you described it as something that I've heard of aliens looking like before, I feel like I would be less likely to believe you because I would think that you're just copying what you've seen before.
Yeah. Other
people saying. Whereas I believe his was the first one which described it as such. A really interesting thing looking across these UFO sightings is there's a really high concentration of these reported sightings, especially in the United States, which is quite interesting because when you look back, you see ancient Egypt, of course, because no conspiracy theory can leave Egypt alone. You've got the Roman Republic, Francia, Nuremberg, but then loads of Texas and Montana that keep coming up, which is something to consider, I suppose. But
wait, why? Like what? Like
I suppose the connection I'm making here is not because the fact that he saw it in Washington. I'm not implying Washington is in Texas. What I'm implying is that these sightings are all in America, and I suppose Texas and...
But apart from the ones in the Roman Republic and Egypt.
in terms of the concentration of the amount of reports,
Right.
obviously at the beginning, like some of the older ones you were getting would be like Egypt, like Roman Republic, but the more contemporary ones, especially like 20th century, they were primarily America. And you would think that...
Other countries would have seen UFOs.
Yeah, exactly. It should be a global phenomenon. It's like if you can...
not necessarily, but I mean, I'm not trying to put credence to the idea of UFOs. But if you look at the countries that I was just listed off, you have ancient Egypt, the Roman Republic, which are historically defining factions of their era.
So, and America is
And America is one of the world's leading superpowers.
That's true.
And if you look at a lot of other UFO reports coming out of a place like Russia.
I'm just saying.
Why didn't they all blight you during the Empire?
That's what this. That's
Because you're going to taste the Queen's wrath, that's why.
Val, that's what I thought you were getting at.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what I
they were in Egypt, then they were in Rome. And I was like, well,
Yeah, and then, you're like, and then they're in
You're
Texas.
telling me that everyone in the British Empire was busy looking for Nessie in a lake and we didn't look up and see the UFOs?
Yeah, it's
like,
huge
guys,
UFO, like,
No, but
they're
I believe we talked in the past about...
They thought the British weren't good enough.
No, they thought the British were too good. Too bloody, would scare them off.
I believe we talked in the past about like the differences in the American mindset versus like, say for example, the European mindset. The differences, for example, in the number of serial killers versus what we have in Europe.
which is not necessarily lending strength to the UFOs argument. So, on the one hand, you have a continent of people who went through a rational enlightenment. On the other hand, you have the country with, there's that clip from a newsroom will tell you, as the highest number of adults who believe in angels.
See,
But
Nation of nutters who kill each other all the time, crucible of Western culture.
Can we point out that think of many people...
I was saying that mainly to add to the skeptical argument because of the fact that like Americans have a lot of these beliefs.
I was going to add also, this is a country where I don't know what the percentage of the population is, but enough to be like a phenomenon, believe in Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, things about Bigfoot is the fact that mountainous regions, like, look at the Himalayas. There have been sightings there as well. But it's the same thing about, like, ghosts. The fact that every culture throughout history has had something similar to a ghost.
Yeah.
Which is more of a phenomenon to me than UFOs. The fact that, like throughout history, ghosts have always been a thing in culture, which is weird.
Yeah.
Like, for the fact that so many people throughout the ages, completely different countries, all arrived at the same concept.
Interestingly, they actually found out that a lot of island...
Ghosts don't exist.
No, it's a lot of islander nations have stories of like little men, like pygmies and things. Recently, they unearthed a load of...
Like Ireland with the leprechauns.
No, they unearthed a load of bones of pygmy humans.
Yeah.
From the sun, and they went extinct like 20,000 if not more. I mean, don't quote me on the maths, but kind of in our ancient...
Much longer.
Yeah, and people basically argue that the reason that these cultural stories have been passed down is from a time like a tribal time when we were savages, for lack of a better term, when we actually lived alongside this race of pygmy humans who then transformed via folklore into these little folk and pygmy people of the time. So if I'm just saying that piece of information can kind of transcend like Stone Age to now, as can stories of ghosts. Same, for example, like the Yetis, Bigfoot. Areas of, I mean, not so much Bigfoot kind of spawned because of a man in a gorilla suit. So the Yeti.
He was the guy from that experiment, right? With people passing a ball between white t-shirts and black t-shirts.
You didn't notice him. Well, some people did. But no.
No, it's like, can you see Bigfoot in this photo? Stare at Bigfoot. Can you see Bigfoot in this photo? Like, yes. But how many times did he pass the ball? And you're like, what? And you look properly, and there's like 7 Bigfoot all passing a ball. Yeah. You're like, I
didn't notice them. No, they weren't even hiding. But the Yeti, especially, if you look in the genetics of the people of the Himalayas, really high concentration of Denisovian, which again suggests that the stories of the Yeti and the kind of ape man and the tall, the big, hairy, could easily just be folklore passed down
about another similar
from Denisovians that which are been proven to have been very, very present in the region back in the day. Yeah. So essentially, what I'm saying is by that logic. I mean, I don't know what
but the thing is, like, what you're saying is the fact that what folklore of what we have today stems from something that actually existed. So then, by that
argument,
is that ghost used to exist or something similar?
I'm just saying something something logical once existed
that has now transformed
into folklore. Like, because let's say, for example, like you look at like the Yeti. It's not a kind of near Homo sapien species of kind of tall, thicker furred and head and kind of wider browed man. It's now a 9-foot snow monster of whatever.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is these are born from my cavemen, minds of old.
It's like, well,
It could be something as easily as mist.
Actually, well, yeah, it could be missed.
You know what I'm saying? It's been transcribed to being
But the thing, what I think it is the fact that ghosts were originally Ugbug, who invented the first sheet, put it over his head to scare the other tribes.
biggest moment in history, Ugbug donning the sheet.
Cutting holes in shit.
Bam. But what I'm saying is, like, with UFOs, it's one of those things that popped out of kind of nowhere.
This is really interesting though, because people do get really different.
But as I said, so did
UFO
Bigfoot.
stories from different countries. The ones that I did have a look at from the list of reported UFO sightings, there was a really interesting one from Japan around the same time. They didn't claim to see any saucers or anything like that.
The really strange one is, have you heard in World War II? I think it's Los Angeles. It might be.
the battle for Los Angeles.
Yeah, where
Yes,
yeah,
the
like
celestial events
like
and
these,
things.
and they were like shooting ribbons at them and stuff, and they like just disappeared. So it's a really weird moment where essentially like unidentified objects.
Aerial objects trigger the firing of thousands of anti-aircraft rounds and raise the wartime alert status.
Yeah, and obviously there was no
1942
like nothing
battle
was shot down or anything. And there was no signs of like bombing runs.
This incident I was talking about in Japan, 1803, it's the Utsurobune at Haratonohama incident on the eastern shore of Japan. On February 22nd in 1803, local fishermen reportedly saw a vessel drifting in close by waters. They say that when they investigated it, a beautiful young woman they described as having red and white hair and dressed in strange clothes appeared. The fishermen claimed that she held a square box that no one was allowed to touch, and she spoke to them in a language they never heard before. Modern UFO believers think that this story was a credible document of a close encounter of the third kind in early Japan, but historians and ethnologists consider it to be folklore, which is quite interesting because it's like literally the same tale that was one group of people took it to be like, this is UFOs, and another group of people took it to be just a story.
Yeah,
like,
but
as you said.
You have to remember, a lot of people, it's like scientists. I'm not saying, like, we all talk about, like, oh, this is irrational kind of people trying to prove their hypothesis. Scientists do that all the time themselves. They have a hypothesis they made a career around, and they will absolutely doggedly see any piece of evidence as either confirming or, dismissing.
Yeah.
They'll dismiss it as their hypothesis. What I'm saying is, so when you talk about this reaction, you've got a group of people who are staunchly anti-UFO, who came in there when they were reading about this story and analysing it with the deliberate intention to disprove a UFO, and surprise, surprise, they disproved a UFO.
But can you imagine if we had...
But what I'm saying is, and another group of people who came in absolutely trying to attempt to prove it was a UFO, and unsurprisingly said faction came back saying it was a close encounter of the third kind. Could be anything or whatever, but the point is, until I get probed, consider me a skeptic. Until I feel the hot sting of an alien probe jammed right at my anus. At what point I will turn to them and ask them, how much can you learn from an anus?
How many times?
How many times? Maybe they're taking my temperature.
Okay, but what's really interesting, right? So I think, as far as I'm aware, Kenneth Arnold was the first person to describe them as saucers. The shape that we're all really like
famous.
In the past, even as I said, from times of Egypt, people have been reporting these UFO sightings, keep talking about ships in the sky. Before we had planes, ships in the sky.
Again, you look at even Egyptian
it's really interesting.
Even Egyptian mythology talks about Ra and his ship in the sky.
Sun barge
that sails from the planet. But the point is that, again,
I don't even care if UFOs exist or not. To me, what's fascinating is how did we get to the point where we all have the same idea? Like you said, like say for example with ghosts. Why is it that like so many cultures are focused on ships in the sky?
Ships in the sky. Well, because it's a big blue ocean looking thing. It's not that creative to go put ship in the sky.
I mean, think about most of the gods have some form of travelling in air.
Yeah, well,
you look at the heavens and think about religion, which is obviously the biggest spread.
Yeah, and a lot of people say, well, isn't that confirmation of alien intervention? I say, no. It's the only place that an early human cannot touch.
Yeah.
Get in the sea, we can stand on the land.
Gods exist there, though.
Yeah, we cannot jump into the sky and fly. Taking the idea of a ship on water and just going, but in big blue air, is not a stretch of imagination I cannot attribute to human beings. At the end of the day, human beings have come out all kinds of creative stuff constantly that's more creative than boat in the sky, and throughout history. It doesn't prove to me that aliens have been visiting us for years and centuries since our creation. It just happens. It's not correlation. It's not correlation at all. Like now, if you showed me an image of a picture of a UFO, like a crystal clear picture of a UFO, again, I'd be like, fake. But then you showed me an image of a hieroglyphic or something with that perfectly transcribed, perfect replica. That might raise my eyebrow. Again, I don't think I'd be like, I want to believe and look out to the sky, but it would at least raise my eyebrow. But people going, look, Leonardo da Vinci drew a big floating penis in the sky. Maybe aliens have been flying their penises for our sky since the beginning of time. That's not enough. One big problem I have with it is the idea that people underestimate, I feel like, fundamentally how smart we are. Part of the reason people go on about the pyramids is they're so mathematical. They're so like this. Yeah. How could those dumb, stupid, old humans have figured out something as simple as piling stones up on top of one another in a very uniform manner? I will put my kind of faith in human creativity and our proven intelligence and things, rather than alien intervention claiming this correlation when it's just coincidence and things. It's one of those things where, the idea of a saucer really spawns a lot of culture.
It does seem like a strange thing to
describe.
Yeah, when you think of UFOs, and like when you were saying the beginning of the whole sky ships, you think that something would be more similar to a ship shape,
something
or something like a plane, or something that is, for it to reach the point where it is a disc, which seems such a strange idea.
An impossible object. It's thin, but
this is
spacious.
I hate to bring this up again to be the voice. I'm not trying to be shit on everyone's parade here. Just saying. For example, take a look at H.P. Lovecraft's work. And at the beginning of his career, he's very, very vague in his descriptions. He's like, eldritch horror from beyond the stars. But towards the end of his career, he starts getting pretty specific with some of these creatures. Let's say the elder things, which are these like vegetable, winged, star-headed creatures. Now, I personally, I don't know if I'm wrong here, before Lovecraft, I've never heard anything remotely or seen anything that looks like an elder thing. This way these are described, these alien. Now, he was in the 30s, may I add.
Yeah.
And he was describing these impossible life forms to the point where, not saying I'm one of them, there are people out there who refuse to believe that Lovecraft's mythos is not real. How alien and different because they just, whatever reasons, they personally choose to do that. He's one man who sat down and created something from his mind that is utterly alien, utterly different, and completely kind of like we would look at that, and if you were to see someone who'd done that drawing in this situation, or say if you were at a radio station and a pilot said, I saw this alien flying through the sky and this is what it looks like, and drew that, you would think, there's no way a person can make that up. It's an impossible shape, to see that. And I'm saying, but he did make that up.
Let's then quickly go through the stuff that people said to try and discredit his findings, because obviously I don't want to bore you with the details, but there is a really long account. You can go on Project 1947, so project1947.com, where it has the full breakdown, which will be linked below, of his whole account, describing the dimensions, the reasons why this shape was so odd to him. And I thought I'd finish it by reading out a little bit what he says at the end of this account. He talks about how he's received various letters from people all over the United States and people from abroad who profess that these objects have been observed all over other portions of the world, principally Sweden, Bermuda, and California. He says, I would have given almost anything that day to have had a movie camera with a telephoto lens, and from now I will never be without one. But to continue further with my story, when I landed in Yakima Wash Airport, I described what I'd seen to my good friend Al Baxter, who listened patiently and was very courteous, but in a joking way didn't believe me. I didn't accurately measure the distance between those two mountains until I landed in Pendleton, Oregon, the same day, where I told a number of pilot friends of mine that I had observed, and they didn't scoff or laugh, but suggested they might be guided missiles or something new. In fact, several former Army pilots informed me that they had been briefed before going into combat overseas that they might see objects of similar shape and design as I described, and assured me that I wasn't dreaming or going crazy. I quote Sonny Robinson, a former Army Air Forces pilot who's now operating dusting operations in Pendleton, Oregon. He said, what you observed, I'm convinced, is some type of jet or rocket-propelled ship that is in the process of being tested by a government, or even it could possibly be by some foreign government. Anyhow, the news that I had observed these spread very rapidly, and before the night was over, I was receiving telephone calls from all over the world, and to date, I have not received one telephone call or one letter of scoffing or disbelief. The only disbelief that I know was what was printed in the papers. I look at this whole ordeal as not something funny, as some people have made it out to be. To me, it is mighty serious, and since I evidently did observe something that at least Mr. John Doe on the street corner or Pete Andrews on the ranch has never heard about, is no reason that it doesn't exist. Even though I openly invited an investigation by the Army and the FBI to the authenticity of my story, or a mental or physical examination as to my capabilities, I have received no interest from these two important prospective forces of our country. I will go as far as to assume that any report I give to the United and Associated Press and over the radio on 2 different occasions, which apparently set the nation buzzing, if our military intelligence was not aware of what I observed, they would be the first people I would expect as visitors. I've received a lot of requests from people who told me to make a lot of wild guesses. I've based on what I've written here in this article positive facts, and as far as guessing what it was that I observed, it is just as much of a mystery to me as to the rest of the world. My pilot license is 333-487. I fly a Calais airplane. It's a 3-place single-engine land ship that's designed and manufactured in Afton, Wyoming, and is an incredibly high-performance, high-altitude plane that was made for mountain work. And then he says, thank you for reading the account.
People got told that they might come across and see something like that. Is what you said.
But I don't think it was specifically that. I think it was more like you might see odd things.
Okay, because it would have been funny if it was like, look what I've seen, completely alien. And so I was like, yeah, I've been being told for years that there might be stuff like that.
Yeah, but even that, like, we don't tend to build stuff that's 5 miles long.
First thing was that they think that it might have been a mirage of several snow-capped peaks in the range.
Yep, I like.
Campbell's calculation of the object's speed determined that they were travelling at roughly the same speed as the plane, indicating that objects were in fact stationary. Mirages could not have been caused by temperature inversions over several deep valleys in the line of sight because he was moving and the objects kind of stayed in the same place. I think that's what...
Instead of like a shimmer.
Yeah. It was staying in the...
But again, all of this is relying on the count that he saw exactly what he said he described, and more importantly, what he described wasn't in any way influenced by the big puddle of grey matter in our heads that misinterprets darkness as Frankenstein's monster waiting to rip my head off.
Yeah, it's the whole thing like you wake up in the middle of the night and you think there's someone in your room, you turn on the light and it's literally the pile of clothes that you put on a chair.
Yeah.
Your brain will always try and fill in the blanks as best it can.
Yeah.
And that is often interpreted by human creativity in some certain aspects of what we have experienced.
Yeah.
It's like...
There were issues, you said, like, people thought that he might have seen a reflection on the glass from one of the lights in the plane or from his sunglasses, something like a smear mark on the glass. He says that because he was able to turn his plane and look out of the bit where there was a window, so he was looking with the naked eye, no glasses on, and he still saw the same thing because he was looking at it for quite a while in disbelief.
Again, it's all his word.
Why didn't they shoot him down?
There were some people who said that it might have been misidentified meteors. The meteor theory would require possibly slow speeds and durations. Somebody said that it might have been pelicans. Obviously, they couldn't have flown as fast as a plane.
5 mile long.
It's the king of the pelicans.
Val, in the text, did it say 5 miles or like 5m?
I believe it says 5 miles.
I was going to say, like, if it was 5m, I'd say like 5 metres. And if it's pelicans, I'm inclined to believe 5 metres over 5 miles.
Yeah. No, but you've strayed into the king of the pelicans territory now.
So Donald
Human hubris. You come to our land in our skies.
So Donald Menzel is a Harvard astronomer and one of the earliest UFO debunkers, and over the years he offered several possible explanations of Arnold's 1947 UFO sighting. So there's 3 here. Is said 1953 he said that Arnold must have seen clouds of snow blown from the mountains. Couldn't be the case because according to an independent source, there are records on the radios that the weather was good, the visibility was great. Arnold even talks about the fact that he was flying in the area and really enjoying himself because it was such nice weather, and he as a pilot really loved it. Other pilots also reported that the weather was good, so it shouldn't have been that. Such clouds couldn't be in such rapid motions as described by Arnold, nor would they account for Arnold first seeing bright objects. Obviously, it wouldn't make sense.
Again,
I like how people are so very willing to be like, it couldn't possibly be snow.
No, of course it could be.
It couldn't possibly be snow because
it
of these
must
weather
be
conditions.
UFOs.
UFOs, extraterrestrial beings from beyond our stars visiting our planet for God knows why. It's flying around our rock
Mountains.
Trying to probe our asses.
in the middle of nowhere. Just joyriding, being like, oh, let's go teabag planet Earth quick.
Yeah, it's that thing that is more plausible and all these other...
Yeah, then because it was a clear day,
Yeah, they said in
couldn't have had snow.
In 1963, Menzel said that it might have been orographic clouds or wave clouds. They're these clouds that kind of appear in waves as they sound. Again, the weather wasn't that like that. And in 71, he said that Arnold may have seen spots of water on airplane windows, but as he said, he was looking outside of the window. But
And also, spots of water are pretty see-through.
yeah, and they wouldn't be shiny.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is,
When the light hits them right, they come up.
I suppose.
yeah.
What I'm trying to say is the fact that because it's dispute the weather and all things like that, they must have been UFOs.
Yeah.
I just really like that sassy little line about, like, just because it's not the common thing for John Doe around the corner or Adam on the farm doesn't mean it's not true.
Yeah, but this is the thing. A lot of the time, you get these people who have these accounts. Yeah. And they are, intent on spreading said information around as much as they can, which of course is a human compulsion, I understand. But also are, because it's not common to you, doesn't mean it's not true. It's not 100% true. Whereas I'm saying, like, I don't know about you guys, but you've probably all been in the situation where you think you see something spoopy. Or your mind plays tricks on you, or you think you see something, or whatever. You immediately turn around and say to yourself, did I just see Dracula hiding in my cupboard? Did you say? And then I go, no,
Not me.
yeah. I'm like, yeah, well, look away and invite me in because I somehow have become trapped in your cupboard, but it doesn't count as room.
From the bottom.
Yeah. The point is that
You try to tell other people about-
you try and immediately debunk it in your own head, and then when you do talk to other people, because you're like, I can't work this out. What did I see? And they start offering you theories of it. You don't immediately respond with, I know my own truth.
No, but I
you know what I'm saying?
do believe Arnold saw something.
Yeah, and
Like,
I think the power. I think the power of seeing something.
I mean, yeah, but what it sounded like was the fact that he was like, I saw something. Well, landed, said to the first person, was like, I saw something, and he was like, yeah, right. So then it seemed like he just kept asking people until someone agreed with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then people were like, yeah, we saw it too. And he was like, okay, my point is now proven.
But I thought that would be interesting to talk about a little bit of conspiracy theory history, because this is a really influential one. And that was it for conspiracy theory. No weird giraffe stories today, which means that conspiracy theories is now finished, and it is only right to dive in, jump in, head first.
Fly our UFOs into... Well, think of it.
Around the mountains of.
Well, we were talking about how spooky things come out of human creativity. So now we have creepypastas.
Non-spooky things.
No, very spooky things coming from human creativity. That's not-
Terrifying stuff. So what creepypasta?
They're creepy stories to people around the internet.
Actually, if you want the true origin, it comes from copy and paste. Basically, is creepypasta like copy pasta, a horror story that gets spread like a meme. It's a story that's spread around the internet, but tends to be scary, quote unquote. So this one is called The Smell.
I'm already scared.
To be fair, I feel that's a better hook because we can all relate to smells, but like smells are bad. Immediately, like
What? There's some
Jonah,
nice
when
ones.
was the last time you smelled something bad? That it scared you?
Well, the last time I took a shit.
Well, you are going to be pleasantly surprised. It didn't arrive with a cataclysmic bang.
Also, you said like, oh, everyone knows smells are bad. Horseshit. There are lovely smells.
That's literally what I said. There were no earthquakes or rolling pillars of black smoke. Rather, it simply drifted in one day on a breeze, quietly and slowly snaking its way into houses, offices, and playgrounds. No one quite noticed it at first, but gradually noses began to turn upward and sniff at the air, and the smell filled their nostrils.
I know what it is. I think they've just opened a pretzel shop nearby. You know how they waft that vanilla smell? And it gets everywhere and it makes you angry. You're like, I just want to eat.
Across the world, people slowed to a standstill and breathed these smell deeply into their lungs. It was different for everyone. To a teacher in London, it smelled like her grandma's freshly baked bread. To an elderly widow in Spain, it was the peppery musk of her late husband. To a
Peppery.
To a businessman in Montana, it was a rich scent of pine from his childhood summer camp.
And the UFOs that he used to catch.
The smell
Late butterflies.
The smell swept through them all, from continent to continent, from person to person, and each one of them closed their eyes, stood still, and was lost in the olfactory nostalgia.
Good use for Thoris then.
At the beginning of the second day, things began to deteriorate. As the fatigue of standing still took hold, people began to collapse. Yet no one came to their aid. They were too enamored by the smells of their pasts. And those who fell didn't seem to notice. They simply kept breathing in and smiling. After 3 days, people began to die. The children and the elderly first, their bodies quickly succumbing to dehydration. And still no one batted an eyelid. By the 5th day, more than half the population had withered away, their corpses lying amongst the fallen bodies of the exhausted survivors.
What do you mean by the 5th day? By the 3rd day, if every human being on planet Earth isn't drinking, every human being on planet Earth is dead. End of story. It's not on the 5th day, a couple of really hardy cacti people are still up.
No, it's not the cacti people.
Standing up and sniffing constantly.
James, it's the
smells like
basement
us.
dwellers. It's the people who stay away from other people, don't go outside.
Yeah, but then why have they...
Because their mum went out to shop and she hasn't come back in ages.
Then the line should be, on the 5th day, the only ones left were the basement dwellers, because everyone else who's already smelt the smell is dead.
There's going to be a point that I'll raise after.
The noseless will inherit the earth. Those who can't smell.
Right.
Dogs probably got fucked up.
Wasn't there a film about that? About like people losing their senses one by one?
I wouldn't know.
With Ewan McGregor, I think.
Anyway,
Sorry.
so their corpses lying amongst the fallen bodies of the exhausted survivors, whose heads remained tilted towards the sky, their raw nostrils still breathing in their heavily scent. By the 8th day, the smell of decay hung heavily in the air, yet the survivors paid it no heed. They took no notice as the crows began to descend from the skies and pick up the bodies of the dead. And the bodies... Pick at the bodies of the dead. Cool. And the bodies of the living. They simply grinned in rapture. As the sun began to set on the evening of the 10th day, the world which once teemed with life stood still, the bodies of billions littering freeways and houses, mountains, and metropolises. The sounds of chattering and laughing were long gone, replaced by the blowing of the wind and the calls of ravens. In a small house in a lonely mountain town, the last human began to die. 10 days of standing and smelling. 10 days. Yeah. There's still one going. One guy is there saluting. Yeah. They're like...
I like the idea that his the smell that's supposed to like entrap him, like it just doesn't work. It's not quite right. Like he's just really picky. How about some freshly baked bread like by a grandmother? He's like, she was a bit of a bitch, to be honest. Never gave me enough money. It's like, how about the smell of freshly cut grass? He's like, allergic.
Why are you thinking of you when I'm going to have some water?
Yeah.
Okay, so her breathing quickened, fighting desperately for each new breath until ultimately she let forth a final guttering rattle from her worn-out lungs, and the pleasant smile drifted from her face as the light in her eyes dimmed. As the final human on Earth passed from life to death, the smell retreated from the houses, offices, cities, forests, carried away on the breeze, lazily floated upwards until it left the atmosphere and drifted off into the dark vastness of space, and behind it, the Earth hung in the void, a vast, silent tomb for the satisfied dead. The thing is, I think that one is actually nicely worded.
Yeah.
However, what population of the world has anosmia?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering.
Can't physically smell.
I was right. I was right. There is a film. The film's called Perfect Sense, and it's got Ewan McGregor and Eva Green in it. It wouldn't be a creepypasta unless it's slightly ripped off something that already exists.
But the point I'm making is that, again, on the 10th day, if everyone is smelling, can't get out of that, like, everyone's dead on the 3rd day.
Yeah.
The 3rd day, everyone dies of dehydration across the planet. It's a 3-day affair.
Yeah,
that's it.
I think you can go a week without food.
Yeah. What people have
a week. Isn't it
a week without food?
2 weeks without food.
3 weeks without food usually.
But isn't that only if you have access to water?
Yeah.
7 days if you don't.
Yeah.
I mean, you die by the 3rd because.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you don't have access to water, you're dead.
But the thing,
you're getting water from eating cacti.
Yeah.
But what about the
cacti people will rise?
What about the people? I know why it lasted till 10 days because there were people who had colds. Who obviously had blocked noses.
No, but if they had colds and blocked noses, then the people who can't ever smell no matter what would still be just walking around like,
it would be.
Okay, well, I guess we're alive.
In terms of senses, I imagine that your sense of smell is probably the most fragile one. Like, say, for example, if you're deaf, you can still feel vibrations and experience things like that way.
Yeah.
You can still taste. Like. Smell is just taste.
Smell's just hypersensitive taste. Like, you taste primarily with your nose.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the point is
That's why when your whole body defense system is you smell something, if it smells bad, you don't put it in your mouth.
and also when you have a cold and your nose is blocked, everything tastes like nothing because it's just the taste buds of your mouth working. Your nasal taste buds stop working because they can't. Yeah.
Right.
But anyway, so the stink
Killed everyone and then went back to space.
It's a cool concept. Better than most.
Yeah, I know.
Better than most.
I thought I'd read
It's
that
like a
one.
nice little short film. That's what it feels like to me.
That's why that one actually was better than most. There was a couple of things in it that did annoy me. Yeah, the fact that obviously people with anosmia surely shouldn't be able to smell it. That, and also the 10th day is when the last human on Earth without food or water, standing constantly, died. That for me needs a bit. But yeah, really cool concept. I think it was really nicely
But even the best smell, I don't think I'd be fucking standing.
No,
like the moment I find something cool, I'd like,
magic-y entrapment. Like, at the end of the day, people weren't like. I feel like the implication of that story is not that human beings are just willfully standing there going, "Mama's panties." Mama's panties. I could leave any time, but I don't want to. I want to keep like. So the whole thing is like it's clearly like entrapping them above their own needs. It's not just like someone going. Well, that's enough of that.
I have a new video game.
Yeah. Oh, I feel like mine's better.
new book. Oh.
Right.
Maybe they're on life support machine.
Moving on to that was, by the way, that was the longest out of the ones I'm going to read. The next two are sweet and short,
fire.
very very quick fire. This is called A Text from My Girlfriend.
They're showing off.
Yeah. All right, braggy creepypasta author.
Yeah.
My girlfriend sent me a text and she said she was going to show me her boobies.
It's cashier. Last night I got a text from my girlfriend V. Please come over. I want to
give me
cuddle.
more letters in my name.
There's 3 actually. It's double E.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
My name starts with a B. Am I in the story?
No.
Is it me? Are you the main character?
Pardon?
Yes. This is James.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is
My
weird.
girlfriend texts me. Pretend to be asleep.
No. Okay. No. So please come over. I want to cuddle. So that's valid.
So I James, please come over. I want to cuddle.
Okay, to which I respond with no.
No, you don't reply yet.
Oh,
Now yesterday was
wanting.
no, because there's a bit of filling. Now yesterday was a school night, and I had an algebra test in the morning, one that I had to pass in order not to have my phone taken away from me as punishment. At first, I tried to tell her no, but then she sent those 2 magical words every teenage boy dreams of hearing a girl.
Puss.
Home alone.
I'm alone. I won't lie. I jumped off the couch and ran for the garage door.
You're on your
Oh,
night.
and the
You
front
can't
door.
drive.
The front door was guarded by my dad.
But
Decided to that
mine's cautionary tale.
right, I'm 17 years old, and even though I wanted a good grade for my upcoming test, I still wanted pussy.
No.
I shouldn't tell you guys this, but I'm a virgin.
Is this legitimately the story? Like, I feel like
I'm not.
Is that what's
literally
creepy
what you
about
wrote? Next line. Yeah, I'm desperate. That's not really, like, you're talking about your girlfriend saying, do you want to come over and cuddle? And he's there like, well, I'm desperate, so that's why I'm with this girl.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Would you like to come over and have sex with me, your girlfriend? I am pretty desperate.
It's like, it's
Well,
not
that
like-
offer has been taken off the table.
This actually sounds like it's written by someone who hasn't experienced a relationship. Anyway, my parents had left earlier for some alone time. They're fucking banging as well.
Upstairs, so Dad's getting some fucking sweet ass puss. I'm gonna go get some sweet ass.
That's why you can leave the
Hopefully, we'll
house.
climax at the same time.
That's why you can leave the house because Dad's not at the door with the bat.
Everyone
No.
talks about their mother's vagina by describing it as sweet ass puss.
No. So the parents,
Only cool family.
his parents are out as well. So they took the car with them. That means I only have 2 options: either walk all the way to our house or ride my bike. I chose the latter. It takes less time to ride than to walk.
Very sensible.
Thanks for filling me in.
I didn't know that before I read this.
I didn't, and I think it's, unless you live on in San Francisco, where the slopes are like 55 degrees, and you're like, you know what? It's actually gonna be easier to walk that ascent. Than
Do you know what? I've got a crusty sock. I guess when is this set? I'm just trying to think of an actress at the time that would have been a picture that you have posted that you would have.
Well, who knows at the time?
It's not. It doesn't say.
Queen Elizabeth I. That's what I masturbate to every time.
I don't think it was set then.
She has the heart of a man.
No, you know who I wanted to be? I wanted to be Tom Cruise's wife. What's her name? Katie Price? No.
No.
Katie Price.
Katie Hopkins? No.
No.
What's her name?
Is this just a game of Val guess?
Say Katie's until... I'm pretty sure she divorced him, by the way.
Yeah, of course she did. She's not into...
So Tom Cruise's ex-wife.
No, but she was really popular in the 90s because she was on Dawson's Creek. What's Tom Cruise's wife's
She's in the
name?
original Batman.
Doesn't
Batman
matter.
Begins.
Can I please? Just as I turned
Demi
onto
Moore? Drew Barrymore?
Just as I turned onto the street.
Katie Holmes.
Fuck me. Just as I turned onto the street where her house is, my phone rang. I pulled over off the road and got it out of my pocket. The screen glowed in the darkness, and I could see the words, Sir, lit up in bright, bold letters. I felt my heart skip a beat. It was her father. Her father doesn't like me. Not really. So he does like you?
But here's your number, message you, sir, out the blue.
No.
Or like he's calling for your arms. And
I think it's like...
No, as in being called by Sir.
So he's in this guy's contact book as Sir.
He saved his girlfriend's dad on his phone as Sir.
What a respectful young man.
What a fucking cuck.
Yeah.
Her father doesn't like me. Not really.
Really?
He thinks that V is still a little girl who wears princess dresses and plays with dolls.
Only when
He's
you ask
afraid
him
that
to.
I'll take her innocence in the back of a pickup truck and ditch her when she gets pregnant.
only
Not that
I-
I'd abandon her.
Although, because I am pretty desperate.
Alright,
Yeah.
so
I'm willing to hitch my tether to any post that will have me for as long as possible. Because you know what my pa always used to say to me when he's sitting on his knees? Son, reading is quicker than walking. And I didn't know what that meant.
It was only after you said that I realised that you said sitting on his knee and not sipping LSD.
My dad's to be LSD. Well, my little weird goblin friend that keeps squealing it came from my balls.
So I'm going to go out on a limb and say the author of this creepypasta is being semi-autobiographical here.
Yeah. Ugh, I don't.
No, I don't feel that.
He
I feel like
wishes he
somehow,
was.
despite this, I feel like there's still a big degree of wish fulfillment.
I feel like up to a point, but I feel like he's in a relationship with a girl whose dad doesn't like him.
But
No, I feel like he's not in a relationship.
Okay, guys, continuing on. Right. So, think about the language that's being used. So, not that I'd abandon her, but I digress. I answered the phone.
Tips for Dora. For any single available women out there in the Reddit thread, just want to know that I would not abandon you if your father didn't like me very
I like
much.
how he had I want a pussy, and then, but I digress. I answered the phone.
Classic.
Hello? I asked. Hastily expecting his gruff Spanish accent voice to respond and fire a warning at me to stay far away from his only daughter. Instead, her voice did. Hey, what's up? She said, and I sighed with relief.
Why are you calling off your dad's phone?
Not much. Almost at your house, I answered, my feet slowly beginning to pedal again. She laughed. Something I didn't expect her to do. What? What are you doing at my house? I raised an eyebrow at this. No.
Especially if you're watching someone cycle on the phone, which is dangerous, don't do it. And then you just saw them cycling, and then just raise an eyebrow, and you're there like, what, do you think you're a model? Like, dickhead. That looks like a boy on his way to get some puss, but he's also not going to leave anyone. He's covering both angles.
Why? And I raised an eyebrow at this. Why? Well, you texted me, I said. The houses lining the street past me as I pedaled faster. I want a puss. From a distance, the roof of our house became visible.
He started masturbating as he's talking to her on the phone.
No,
Just to
why?
get started,
Why?
just to be ready.
Get started.
Yeah, get started. Like, there's nothing
ready.
better than kicking the door in.
No, mate,
Running in,
mate. If I'm
straight
pedaling
in,
on the
donk.
phone, wait. So I'm on the phone,
Yeah.
pedaling, jerking it.
You can't ride a bike with no hands?
No, it's not that.
Because you haven't lived. Because
No.
you can be on the phone and jerk off and ride a bike.
I just feel like I'm going to spend all my money before I reach the shops. Yeah, I'll eat all my popcorn
No,
before
to
the
be fair,
movie starts.
yeah.
If he starts now, he's already.
He'll come in the front door like, I'm here, splooge.
Yeah, I feel like the character, as he's been described, is not the kind of person who's exactly going to go for an endurance marathon. So,
Anyway,
I digress.
I digress. From a distance, the roof of our house became visible amongst the others, just 50 feet in front of me. What? She chuckled again. I said, you came. I said you texted me and asked me to come over, remember? To cuddle. That was just a few minutes ago. How could you forget? This time, there was no laugh.
All right.
Just a moment of silence
Get a
from
bit
her
aggressive.
end. It took less than a minute for her voice to come back. By that time, I could see the yard and the driveway of her house.
it took him less than a minute, which implies closer to a minute, to pedal 50 feet. on a bike, which I'm assuming is going quite fast at this point. You chubby little funster.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah. Raising eyebrows and puffing his little red face. Like, gotta get the post. Gotta touch the post.
Life the door. It blows away in the wind.
That's why it took so long, is because he digressed.
He did digress.
Yeah, he was digressing all over the shop, mate.
Yeah, checking his phone.
No hander.
Yeah.
He's like doing wheelies.
Did anyone else see that strange neckbeard fedora kid raising eyebrows, spraying his load all over the street as he cycles furiously off?
Did I text you from my phone? The question caught me off guard. I thought about it, and I remembered that she was calling me from her dad's phone. Yeah, why? Another moment of silence. It was shorter this time. James. Yeah, I'm adding your name here. I'm not at home. Yeah, because I forgot the whole point was the fact we're telling you and Val's story.
I've been insulting myself for quite some time.
You fucking chubby funster.
Yeah.
With your fedora and your neck
Fedora and my wailing as I spray my load, and also telling women how valuable I am to them as I go. No, I'll never abandon you.
Another moment of silence, yes. I'm not at home.
I'm not home.
I'm out with my folks. And I've been here for a couple of hours. I don't even have my phone on me. I left it back at home by accident. She spluttered.
What do you mean she splut? Was she drinking at the time? She's like, what's that? She's like, sorry, I should really, like, you know, I'm supposed to be worried for you. I really shouldn't be just trying to drink at the same time. Yeah, you'd probably get murdered.
I'm so excited for your character to be fucking killed.
I can hear the confusion in her voice. Confusion that I also shared. I was about to ask her to repeat herself when I got another text. It was from her phone again. Come here, I'm so cold. I want to cuddle. In one of the upstairs windows.
Is it not? Wait, so he's on the phone to her, yeah, and he's cycling. So he's just in front of his face, like just.
No, hold on. He doesn't have he's got his hand on his dinky. Come on, James.
He's got his hand on his dink, and now it's in front of his face. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, he's a pretty impressive cyclist. I mean, obviously
he's going so slowly.
Obviously, yeah, which is even more
Guys,
impressive.
He never said it was a bike.
It's got training wheels on.
Oh,
Yes,
I was thinking it was like a unicycle. He was going back and forth a bit.
He nicked his sister's
Also-
little pink bike with the tassels and the stabilisers, just going off, just jacking.
Also,
Just realised that's a lot of spit in there
maybe
now.
he's a cool enough dude to have an Apple Watch.
Yeah, he could do. I don't think he does though. Because he
What
keeps
could
saying phone.
if it was getting...
Fitbit. You know, the ones that you can get the messages on, like the emails.
But then the thing is that it's so small, he'd still have to look at it really close up. He wouldn't be able to see the street.
I need to put my glasses on.
He's so irresponsible. I hope he gets hurt.
Come here, I'm so cold, I want to cuddle. In one of the upstairs window, I could see someone watching me from behind the curtains. I called the cops, but by the time they got there, the shape had vanished.
Really?
Yes.
Seriously, he's going to spend all that time
Blue
trying
balls?
to flirt with me through his creepypasta, describing himself as a, you know, I wouldn't abandon her, you know, I'm not like that. I crush puss though, so, you know, I'm both gut. I'm going to crush your puss, but I'm not going to abandon you. And then the ending is literally, I looked up, there was a shadow, I called the police, but he was gone. Toodaloo. Cheers for that. Satisfying ending with us. Just as much payoff as there is build up, I think.
As he just splooged through your letterbox.
Do you think he came
Take that, criminal!
Do you think he came when he saw the shape behind the curtain? Do you think he hoped that she had a twin sister?
Yeah. How naff that was. That was seriously.
Right, okay, I'd like to point out the first one I read.
It was good.
900 likes on
Really good.
on No Sleep.
Yeah.
That one, 4,000 likes.
Are you serious?
I'm 100% serious.
Are you
4,000,
serious?
Yes.
What is wrong with that community?
They all like the girlfriend fantasy.
Oh my. Like,
That's what gives him
I
no
can't
sleep.
jack into this one about existential crisis and the death of the human population, but I can jack into some sweet puss and the implication again. I'd ride a little child's bike while jacking on the phone to get some sweet puss. I can relate to that character.
When I saw I can't.
And also, I hate how most of this is the thing. If I have to say one thing, in my opinion, the creepypasta community needs to get their shit together on, it's having all this stupid description, all this nonsense, only to finish their story in like 2 sentences.
Yeah.
It's like, you need to have, it's like this, Act 1, Act 2, it's just a muddle of, Act 3 is like, done. I mean, just so unsatisfactory. Like, you need to build it up and have a decent sequence or event, or at least something to not just finish in 2 lines, like describing the architecture of the house and how you can see the roof coming from 50 foot, and they give me there was a shape in the cupboard. called the cops, and it's done.
Right.
But he was gone by the time we got there because,
This one is the shortest of them all. This is on r/short scary stories. The other two were no sleeps. So this one is called Burn. Boom. Attention.
I touched the stove. Dot. Finish.
I raced across the hospital as fast as I could. I should have been heading home, but I'd just been called about an emergency.
I don't work at the hospital, by the way. Someone just called me to let me know there was an emergency there.
I entered the private room and I gasped at what I saw. In all my years treating burns, I'd never seen anything that came close to this. The man on the bed had burns covering the entirety of his body. His skin was charred black. Blood and pus wept from the cracks in his destroyed flesh. What made the situation even worse was that he had to be physically restrained by the two biggest male nurses I knew. "Let me fucking go!" he screamed. "I can't stay here! He'll come back for me!" Jesus. Had this been the result of a premeditated attack?
If all his skin is black, how is he speaking? He has no lips. Unless it's just this charred, oozy, pussy body.
I'm thinking like the
two perfect, kissable lips.
No, I was thinking more like the Half-Life model of the burnt man. That you can do. Yeah, the Gary's mod.
But what I'm saying is, like, if you're so badly burnt that you are literally charred across your entire body, your lips are gone.
Bear with me.
His lips were not gone, says the author deliberately.
Doctor, the first nurse greeted me. Doctor! Sorry,
How are you doing today? See this burnt man?
I feel like with the word greeted, I needed to change the inflection in the...
Yeah.
Doctor, the first nurse greeted me. He keeps giving us false details, possibly due to the trauma. He thinks he's dead. Date of birth, June 12th, 1972. Date of death, January 6th, 2014. The patient bellowed. Again, bellowed. Date of birth, June 12th, 1972.
You know what? If he lost the lips in the fire, he wouldn't have been able to bellow.
Date of death, January the 6th, 2014. Now let me go. He's coming.
On the 12th day of Christmas.
Oh my god, it's the guy from the previous Creepypastas, the one that's chasing him.
He's coming. Let me go. I'm fucking coming. I'm coming for you, boy. Holding onto his fedora.
Because his first date got cancelled, so he's got to get someone else.
Now, I've heard people say some crazy things when they're being on pain relief, but this guy sent shivers down my spine. Something was really wrong about this completely burnt man who is awake.
beyond the obvious, he should be dead.
He is dead because he says he's dead.
No, but the fact that the guy's like, the fact he was talking
and saying that he's dead.
Can I guess the twist?
Yes.
Is the date and time of death like in the future?
We'll see if you're right. Yeah, but then the nurse wouldn't say, "Oh, he's saying he's dead," because he's giving us a date that's in the future. That surely means he's alive. I took a few more steps towards him, scanning the burns he suffered. As I did, this whole thing had started to feel like a weird out-of-body experience. What are you? I heard myself ask. He stopped screaming and fighting against the nurse. He slowly turned to me, stared straight into my eyes, and calmly spoke. My name is David John Cooper, and I'm the first person to escape hell.
Well, I'm going to go. I'm going to go now. I'm clocking off for the night because that was not quite as lame as Cucklord because it was shorter.
I was really...
Literally just...
How many views?
1.3, so that's 1,300 likes.
For that?
Yes.
I think it's better than Count Calcula.
Count Calcula at least had more... No, I mean... Yeah,
it was funnier. I loved, I'm
I had more
boy, and
fun.
I wanted some pussy.
No, don't get me wrong, that was my favourite creepypasta we read today.
I'm going to give it to The Smell. The Smell was the best one. Undeniably the best one.
Yeah. The smell was actually well written.
Yeah, well written.
Is that what we're rating them on? I thought we were rating them on how much fun we had.
No, because we have fun making fun of them. If you were to read The Smell by itself, you would say that's the better story than Beta Cucklord Saves the Day and Char Crispy Human Crawls Out of Hell. Bet you didn't see that one coming.
I loved Cucklopolis.
The fact is, the problem is this, that when you get these creepypastas, you give it more credit than you think the writer's done. Like, you go like, maybe this person is from the future, it's like kind of a cool, but it's too interesting a premise. They sit there and they're like someone with a big Christmas turkey, they're like, I can't handle that. How about the child body came from hell? Good for you, buddy. Good for you. Keep playing with those ping pong balls.
I still thought that was like relatively creative because I thought it was going to be one twist when it wasn't.
Only reason you didn't see that
think it was
twist
a good
coming
twist.
was because you assumed the twist would be better.
Yeah.
Well done. That's the M. Night Shyamalan school of twists, like later Shyamalan, where you're like, oh, it's going to be a clever twist. It's like, nah, it's a dumb twist. And you're like, I thought it would be better. And he's like, yeah, but you didn't see it coming, though, did you? Yeah, but I thought it was better.
I mean, they could have literally said, like, I look at him and he looks at me and says, I'm David Cooper, whatever his name is, and I'm a fictional character that just came out of the TV.
Yeah.
And we just have the same impact.
I'm David Cooper, and I just kissed the sun. I'm David Cooper, and I lost a bet and slept in an oven.
I'm Sylvia Plath's best friend.
Yeah. I'm David Cooper, and I'm the hottest man alive.
No wonder he's coming.
Yeah.
I liked it, basically. But
the smell was the best.
one. So well done.
But
to
no,
the
but
smell.
also no. The reason why.
Jonah, which one did you?
Wait. The reason why I put the reason why I put the smell in there, right, is the best written. It's an interesting concept, and yet is the lowest rated.
Yeah, which is crazy to me. Like, the smell was...
So who was the author for the smell?
Pretty good idea. Original idea enough. Like, in a world where there is no original ideas left, really. It was creative. It was well written. Yeah, there was a few kind of nitpicks, like times and stuff, but
it didn't matter. It didn't ever not make sense.
Did not make... I mean, yeah, exactly.
It was nice to listen to.
The tiny little details, like of people not all dying at once, just clearly with a narrative purpose or whatever, and it didn't break the story because the story was actually good. It was interesting.
So in the comics, people are saying, yeah, that's great. There's a couple of people saying that wasn't really that scary.
What, the entire human population dying?
What about the user? The user that
It's not very scary. If the human race...
that was only one guy. Like, most of them, lots of people are saying, I'm glad I have no sense of smell. Lots of people apparently have a nausea, like to comment.
But the person who wrote it, have they written other no sleep creepypasta type stories? Did they get recognised on them? Because I thought maybe it was like a one-off and they didn't get as many views on that story.
I can see one other... No, a couple of others. Oh, he's the author of Mime Time. I have actually read that one before. It's one of the top rated of all time. So it's 1.9. So 1,900 likes. It was another story of his.
Well done, you.
So yeah, no, I've actually read that one. I was going to read that one out on this one.
I'm just saying, I like the smell.
It's about mime.
The smell was good. It was enjoyable. It was what a creepypasta should be. It was just a little kind of ooh. You know, it's not. I'm not going to rush out and buy the book.
That's what
the smell deserved more.
Yeah, the smell deserved more than the other two, which are appalling.
I'm hoping also the fact that it was only released 3 months ago had a big impact.
Cool. And I guess that wraps us up for creepypastas. We've picked our winner. Jonah has sighed throughout, which is the most important bit. It sets the ambience, sets the tone. It's like being in a haunted mansion with loads of drafts. Thank you so much for joining us for the late shift. We love you very much. Thank you for tuning in again. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time where we'll bring you conspiracy theories, debatable, creepypastas, today in history, famous facts. Who knows what we feel like going to? Maybe nothing at all.
It just depends on the day now. We just fucking go with it.
Yeah. Maybe we're here for the pussy, or maybe we're not going to drop you like
right. No.
I'll treat you burns.
Bye guys.